Okay, guys, good morning. Good morning. We are here today. It is Friday. We have inflation data going live at 8:30 Eastern Standard Time today. It's honestly a really important day because this is the first time we're going to see how these oil shocks are going to play into inflation data today, both directly and indirectly. We have headline CPI coming out. They're expecting it to jump up almost a full percentage point today. Last time headline CPI showed up at 2.4% year over year, at 2.4%. Today they are expecting 3.3%, up 0.9% versus what we showed up last month. On the month for headline CPI, it's expected to jump up 3x from 0.3% to 0.9%. Even core CPI is expected to increase. Now, core CPI excludes food and energy prices, but there's still some indirect effects of higher oil prices on core CPI, specifically through gas prices, diesel prices. It's more expensive to fly planes, and so in that regard, airlines raise ticket prices. That is included in core inflation, and that's expected to jump up as well. We have 2.5% expected for core year over year. It's expected to jump up to 2.7%. Last time was 0.2% on the month. It's expected to jump up to 0.3%. So inflation everywhere is expected to jump up here for today's print at 8:30 Eastern Standard Time today. It's a big day. Hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, and we'll see what happens for the inflation print going live in about an hour. You can see the timer right here. In about an hour, we have this inflation print going live. This should be a really, really volatile print for markets here because, again, this conflict started in March, and this is inflation data from March. Just to put this into perspective, here's oil prices. This is the start of March right here. This is March 1st, right? So this is March 1st. This is like the worst drawing ever, but that is March 1st right there. You can see the increase to oil, even with the ceasefire that we have going on right now, which is on sketchy ground. Oil has jumped up dramatically since this conflict started. So we have some increases in oil prices that are going to be reflected in this report. And yeah, it's just incredibly important report here. This is a really, really, really important report today. Yesterday's PCE was a little bit delayed. GDP showed up weak. We'll see what today's report looks like. But it's important. It's not small. This is a very large report. Also, about 10 minutes ago, we did get this breaking news that the political deputy of the foreign ministry said regarding the temporary ceasefire and negotiations is in Islamabad, it has been agreed that the Islamic Republic's 10-article plan will serve as the basis for negotiations. He said, "We are not seeking a ceasefire that would allow the, quote, aggressor enemy to rearm itself and launch another, quote, aggression, and we have explicitly told our friends and that this situation will not be repeated without guarantees," end quote. So, this is a big inflation report. We'll see what we get. Again, he said, "We are not seeking a ceasefire that would allow the aggressor enemy to rearm itself." Let's see what oil is doing. Oil is actually down a little bit today. It's under $100. It's at 98.07. Really, it's about flat. And you can kind of see the ceasefire was announced here. And then oil prices have basically been flat since the ceasefire here. So again, ceasefire announced here. Oil has been flat since this big drop that we got earlier in the week. But today is Friday. It is inflation data day. It's an important day. Let's see what we get today, guys. Let's see what we get. Are you guys bullish or bearish on the day? I'm also going to do another poll. Does today's CPI print show higher or lower than the 3.3% year over year expected? Higher, lower. It's going to be the poll. Vote on the poll. The poll is now live right now, but you can see the increase, the decrease in oil prices since the ceasefire started. And they're supposed to meet, I believe it's tomorrow on Saturday in Pakistan to see if they can get a deal done regarding everything. But yeah, so US and Iran are supposed to meet tomorrow in Pakistan to see if they can get a deal done. And yeah, we'll see what happens here. But so far, markets are kind of buying the ceasefire, I would say. Markets, are a little bit nervous, but they're still buying it for the most part. And then the Federal Reserve study. A new Federal Reserve study reveals that the tariffs implemented in 2025 by the president are entirely responsible for the recent surge in core goods inflation, hitting consumers with a direct dollar-for-dollar price increase. I don't know if this is true or not. Again, this is just notes that we're seeing from the Fed. April 8th, there was a Fed note published by economist Robert Minton. So he's saying that these tariffs are driven by, or this inflation is driven by tariffs. Nvidia is back up to 183.30s here, 183.30s. I don't think CPI will be as high as everyone thinks. My gas costs and energy costs have gone up some. But shopping wise, not so much. Bearish, I can't buy anything. Super bullish today, but overall. What? Are there bad jokes in chat? Market is totally ignoring the war risk. This doesn't look like there will be a deal at all. Is there news on Microsoft this morning? I'm seeing a lot of different questions here. Microsoft's up. There was news on one of the big breaking news stories that we got is TSM, Taiwan Semiconductors. Had good earnings. They reported earnings this morning for TSM, and they are jumping up today. They reported earnings, I think it was this morning. Let me make sure. For TSM, and I'm pretty sure they did good on their earnings report. Yeah, so TSM beat revenue. AI chip demand went up. Yeah, TSM reported a forecast beating 35% jump in revenue for the first 3 months of the year. A sign that the conflict is not curbing AI demand. People are more optimistic on AI today because of this. So again, they showed up at 1.13 trillion NT, which is about $355 billion, which is over the expected analyst, the analyst expectation. They're up again over 2% today. They're at 374 for Taiwan Semiconductors, and yeah, they're doing good. More AI demand here potentially. So I did a poll. I asked, does today's CPI reprint show higher or lower than 3.3%? 78% of people so far in the poll think higher. 22% think lower. So again, 78% think higher. 22% think lower.
I think it's going to come in higher. Also, hey everybody.
Oh, here, let me turn the music down. I don't think they could actually hear you right now.
I can barely hear you.
Oh, well, sorry, dude. Let me turn you up. All right, Britt, speak.
Hello. Hello. Testing.
All right, so it should be pretty good. Yeah, I don't know. Maybe leave and come back if you can't hear me.
It's okay right now. I don't know why, but it's going kind of robotic sometimes and a little quiet.
Oh. Well, listen, guys.
Yeah, if it happens again, I'll just quit and rejoin.
Yeah, it's all good. If higher, what can happen? If lower, what can happen? So that's a good question. So if it's higher, obviously, you know, markets probably won't be happy. And this is a market that generally, I would say, wants rate cuts. And one of the roadblocks to rate cuts is high inflation data. So if we get high inflation data, it's looking less likely that we'll get cuts this year. It's looking more likely that we will have, you know, risk to inflation. It's looking more likely that the conflict is going to scare more people. We're going to get less rate cuts potentially. There's going to be less easing short term. And generally speaking, just higher inflation's worse, obviously. People don't like high inflation. You know, most people are going to prefer low inflation. And so high inflation might make markets dump, depending on how high it is. Now, it's already expected to jump up almost a full percentage point, you know, from the previous year-over-year reading. Previous year-over-year reading, again, was 2.4%. They're expecting this one at 3.3%. So if we get high inflation, obviously it's not good. Pay attention to core inflation, which excludes food and energy. There are some indirect effects to core inflation, even if it excludes gas prices and oil prices and all that stuff. There's some indirect effects. You know, higher gas prices means shipping costs a little bit more, usually passed on to consumers. Airlines cost more, all that stuff. So it does bleed into core inflation, even if it excludes energy prices specifically. You know, it just excludes energy prices, but airlines raise prices the more expensive it is and so forth. So there's indirect effects to inflation, even if we're talking core. We can take a look at the NASDAQ here, though. The NASDAQ is sitting over 25,000. It's at about 25,300. It is green on the day. The S&P 500 is currently at 68.68 right now. So it's just under 68.70. It is green on the day as well. Here's the Dow. The Dow is actually a little red. Dow is at 48,400. So the Dow is sitting a little bit red today. And yeah, we'll see what happens. Do me a favor, guys. Hit that like button. Hit the subscribe button if you haven't already. Let's see if we can get over 100 likes within the next 3 minutes if everybody hits the like button. Do it now. Hit the like button. We appreciate it.
Do it now.
Everybody's doing it, guys. Just try it one time. It might feel good.
Yeah.
Do it now. You know?
Everybody wants to fit in.
Yeah. Just try it one time, guys. Just try it one time. Everybody loves me, you know? Does one number have more effect than the others on the market movement? Well, I think there's you have two different stories. So Davis or however you pronounce your name, there's two different stories here. One of them is, you know, headline inflation and the oil price swings that we're getting from headline inflation. So headline inflation is going to include energy prices. And so that is the one I think a lot of people are going to watch. They're going to watch core as well, of course. And in some ways you could argue the Fed and other people look at core more, but people are going to be watching headline inflation to see what inflation's looking like in that regard, in that context. Like, where is headline inflation? What does that look like? That's the one I think people are going to be paying more attention to, but I think people are honestly going to be watching both, just like us. We're going to cover all of it as soon as it drops. I genuinely think people are going to be watching both here. I think it's a situation in which they're curious to see what headline inflation is, which again includes food and energy prices, as well as if we're seeing indirect effects of high, of high oil on core inflation. That's what I think. So, yeah.
I just feel like headline inflation gives you a better feel of day-to-day inflation.
Well, some of the more expensive things we pay for is food and energy. Some of the biggest purchases we make, not the biggest necessarily, but some of the most consistent purchases we make are food and energy prices. So I've always said it's very relevant. But in the Fed's mind and others, they want to gauge it without like emotional peaks and valleys, so to speak, in oil prices, right? Like, oil prices have the most variance. They can go up big depending on what's going on geopolitically. They can go down big depending on what's going on geopolitically. And so because of that, it's the same thing with food prices. Food prices emotionally react to things as well. So because of that, a lot of the time the Fed looks at it in that regard, where they're like, hey, like, let's exclude these super volatile things and just see if like baseline prices are going up. Definitely not financial advice. Yeah, I showed maybe 7 ships pass through the Strait yesterday. The Strait of Hormuz, about 7 ships is what we're showing here. Pass through the Strait. So, look at Coreweave right now, guys. Coreweave, some breaking news happening for Coreweave. It just jumped up to 96, 97s, almost 98s here for Coreweave. So, some breaking news just happened for Coreweave right now.
What's Coreweave do?
It's an AI company.
Okay.
So yeah, Coreweave is jumping right now. It's almost to $98 a share. I'm checking breaking news. Yeah, 3.4% is a full percentage point higher here. That's a big jump. That's a big jump. I can't hear the music here. Let me know if the music is too loud. It could be a little too loud here. But look at Coreweave jump. Some type of news just broke for Coreweave. Something just happened with it, at least. Let me check other news sources. Yeah, it just popped up to $97 a share all of a sudden. It's loud. I can turn it down. Seems okay. Coreweave is an unprofitable AI data center disaster that would eventually go to zero amount of bad debt. Optimism in that comment, man. I see it. I see it. Yeah. Yeah, the president also tweeted yesterday, guys, which is some news that came out. So the president did tweet yesterday. I don't see any breaking news on Coreweave, but something obviously happened. This is not a technical move for Coreweave. This is some type of fundamental rip. Let me look this up. Latest. Yeah, I know they announced the Meta contract yesterday, but Coreweave just ripped up. We'll keep looking at it. Here's SanDisk, SNDK. SanDisk up to 870s, 876 right now for SanDisk, so SanDisk is pumping up too. But again, today's the biggest report of the month right now. Yeah, the Coreweave Meta deal was announced yesterday though. So I see they responded to the $20 billion deal with Meta, but again, the Meta deal was announced yesterday for Coreweave. I think, right?
That's the first time I heard you. I heard you talk about it. I think so.
Yeah. Coreweave Anthropic agrees to rent computing power. Oh, Anthropic is agreeing to rent computer power from Coreweave, is this news. So again, Anthropic agreeing to rent computer power from Coreweave is the news that's breaking right now. So, yep. So this is the news right here. Anthropic is agreeing to rent computing power from Coreweave. That is why CRWV is up so much. Again, it's at 96.20s, jumping on that news. So, yeah, and I like Anthropic a lot. You know, one of the reasons the market's going down here is, or one of the reasons markets have been moving a lot lately is Michael Burry actually tweeted yesterday. And Michael Burry was one of the guys behind the Big Short. He ran Scion Capital. He tweeted yesterday, and it was a bearish tweet regarding Palantir. He eventually deleted this tweet, from my understanding. Allegedly. I might be wrong. I mean, I don't think I'm wrong, but I'm just going to throw that out there just in case. But I'm because he deleted the tweet. So he tweeted about Palantir, basically saying that Anthropic, which does Claude, which I love Claude, is eating Palantir's lunch, is basically what he said. And then he deleted it. And Palantir's had a tough few days. Number one, Palantir does defense things. And so Palantir, if the conflict gets settled, it might be worse for Palantir. That's number one. The ceasefire might make Palantir actually drop because it's a defense name. And number two, Michael Burry coming out bearish, a little bit bearish on Palantir in that tweet. Probably didn't help very much. Again, he did eventually delete the tweet. But yeah, Palantir is down to the 130s today, guys, to the 130s. You know, people like to nickname him Blurry. Let me know if that's his name. Blurry or Burry. Let me know which one you guys like. Michael Blurry. Yeah. Is a short on Palantir. Michael Blurry short on AI in general here. And looking at our poll, 75% still think the inflation print shows higher than 3.3% today for year-over-year data. Meta agrees to $21 billion deal with Coreweave an hour ago reported. Yeah, but an hour ago, that's not... Something's moving Coreweave 6 minutes ago. You know, the Meta Coreweave deal was really announced here. So you can see the movement yesterday here. Yesterday in pre-market, around the same time actually. So the Meta Coreweave deal is old news. It came out yesterday. I'm talking about the jump we did 6 minutes ago, which I think is is right here. Anthropic agrees to rent computing power from Coreweave is I think what the news is. Might be wrong. Yeah, that's what it is. Anthropic will use Coreweave to help power Claude AI models, apparently. So that is the news. Hit the live button next to the play button, put it in 2x speed, guys. Let's see what we get today. Burry called 37 of the last 2 bear markets and market crashes. Yeah, I don't know. I do have a pretty good track record with CPI prints in terms of guessing what the number's going to be. If I had to make a guess today, and I'm going to preface this with I might be wildly wrong. Wildly wrong. If I had to make a guess today, I'm going to go with... I'm going to go with 3.1%. is my guess. It's expected at 3.3%. I'm going to go with 3.1%. I think it's going to show up slightly lower than expected, but obviously still pretty elevated versus what it was last month. What it was for February. I think March data is obviously going to be up, but maybe it's not going to be as much as people think, and I'm going with 3.1%. Again, just a straight up guess here. Just a guess. Let me know what your percentage that you think it's going to show up as in chat. I see 3.9. I see some 4.2% guesses. I see 3.09. Yals are trying to one-up me. I see it. Yeah, the problem with Burry is that Burry has, he's wildly over-predicted market crashes in the last 15 years. There was the famous part ahead of the Fed meeting. He just told his Twitter followers to just cryptic sell. He just said sell. Market flew up after the Fed meeting. He deleted the tweet. You didn't hear from him for a few months, you know, and then he came back with his next bearish prediction. So maybe that's how it goes sometimes, but yeah.
I wonder if that's just because that's what made his name, was the original prediction.
Yeah, well, like you got to look at it like in 2007, he saw something that not a lot of people saw at the time. And it got to the point where he was right, but everybody thought he was wrong for a long time ahead of him being right. And even his closest friends sued him for millions of dollars. And in the end, he ended up making those friends tons of money, hundreds of millions of dollars. And he was right when everybody thought he was wrong. But I think that type of dynamic creates a situation in which moving forward, he distrusts the entire system. And so he's just wildly over-predicting shorts and crashes now. And I get it. I might wildly over-predict crashes if I'm him as well. The issue, though, is that he's just been really not the most accurate with it lately. Although you could argue he's been pretty bearish for the last 6 months. In the last 6 months, we are down. Now, if this conflict ends sooner than later, obviously he's still wrong. But I do think AI is that next big technology. The question is just, do we correct? In 2000, the internet, we had a .com crash. A lot of IPOs happening. Companies were IPOing for billions. And, Netscape is the one I always reference because Netscape IPO'd for billions of dollars. Pre-profits. I think before Netscape, there was a standard of IPO where you had to make a certain amount of money in profits for a set period of time. After Netscape IPO pre-profits made billions of dollars from it. That kind of changed the standard of IPOs for tech. But by 2000, we saw the cracks in that type of thing, and Netscape was eventually bought by AOL for like a couple $1 million, I think is what it was. Microsoft essentially put them out of business. You saw a lot of internet companies fail. Even though the internet was that next big technology, internet companies still failed at the time. And so long term, the internet was the next big thing, just like people are saying about AI now. But my overarching point here is that just because AI is the next big thing does not mean we are incapable of crashing, because it's certainly possible we do. It's certainly possible. Warren Buffett predicts 50%. Didn't Burry close his hedge fund? Yahoo's still alive, but it's not what it could have been. The next big thing is quantum, maybe. AI's had about 5 years to settle now. And so, yeah, maybe the next big thing is quantum. A lot of people could argue that. All right, guys, we still got about an hour before CPI inflation prints. About an hour here. Be ready here, though, guys. It's a really important print today. It's going to include the premium oil prices that we're seeing. It's going to include all of that stuff. Incredibly important. Incredibly important. Let's see what we get today.
It is known penchant for over predicting. Does Burry still affect the market?
Yeah, he does. Palantir dropped after he was bearish with them, so he still affects the market for sure. And speaking of Palantir, look, Palantir's dropping right now. I don't know if this is from his Burry, but look, Palantir right here is down to 130s right now. And Palantir's had a crazy year. The problem with Palantir is the PE ratio has been wildly high. Everybody's skeptical of Palantir in some ways because of that. Even if you're bullish on Palantir, a lot of people acknowledge super high PE ratio. And in PE, guys, like low PE is better. If you have like a PE in the hundreds, that means the share price versus the earnings and the margins that you actually pull in there's a disconnect. And so, but Palantir does a lot of names in defense, or does a lot of stuff in defense. Yeah, and so we'll see what happens with Palantir. Oil now technically red on the day. It is under $98 a barrel right now for WTI crude. Under $98 a barrel. Coreweave still pushing up right now. Bull should print. You can just say high or low inflation today, guys, versus expectations. High or low inflation in chat right now. Let me know. Do we have 100 likes? We better have 100 likes.
We have 7.
No, you got to refresh. That's not true.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, pardon me.
Yeah. We had 7 before the stream started, which is probably when you started watching it, is what it was.
124, yeah.
Yeah. Hey, there you go. Look, you guys love me. I see it. Very high. I'm back from my dog walk. All right, so I'm still, look, I'm showing in chat right now. High, very high, low. I see yup, higher.
A little high.
What's up, Michelle? How you doing? Can the U.S. afford to rebuild? Yeah, I mean, we can afford it. You know, we better be able to afford it. We're getting taxed like crazy. I don't know if I want my tax dollars spent on foreign stuff like that, to be honest, but we get triple taxed here. They better be able to afford it. A working quantum computer predicted by 2029. Oh, that's good. Don't say bullshit print out loud. What does it say? I don't get it. Peace in the Middle East. Yup, it's from Storage Wars. Even. Come on, we are just gonna get a Skyrock? Fraggle Rock, in my opinion. Bearish day. Yeah, we'll see. Bear, bull. I don't know. I think there's definitely an argument to be bearish today, based off of the inflation print we're also getting factory orders and consumer sentiment data at 10 a.m. today. But I do think there's an argument to be bearish today. But with that said, are you guys bull or bear? I see a lot of people thinking we're going to get high inflation today. We're definitely going to get higher inflation relative to what we've seen previously. You know, we're definitely going to get higher inflation versus what we've seen before. The big question just is, does it show up higher than a full percentage point increase year over year? You know, last time we got 3.4, they're expecting 3, or last time we got 2.4, they're expecting 3.3 today. And a lot of people didn't even trust the last one that we got. And so I'm showing the bulls. A lot of bulls here. VIX is down below 20. Yeah, the ceasefire news bringing the VIX back down here. Here's the VIX. VIX gauges volatility, so you can kind of see just over the last few days since the ceasefire has really been here. The VIX has tumbled back down. Here's when the ceasefire was announced. Again, it gauges volatility, so the more we go down, the more the VIX is going to go up and vice versa. Here's the ceasefire news. We've kind of slowly stabilized here. There were some worries about the ceasefire not holding, and they're still there. Those worries are still here. But the longer we go on, you know, the longer we go on without a more escalation, the better it is, and the more optimistic people are. Fear and greed up to 37. Yeah, oil prices are still pretty high. Honestly, WTI crude is still at around $100 a barrel here. So it stabilized some for sure. It's not at 110s, 115s like it was before, but it's not necessarily, it's not low at all still. I mean, $100 a barrel is $100 a barrel.
And where's Brent in comparison?
Yeah, Brent right now is at 96, a little bit lower than WTI crude. So WTI crude a little premium versus where Brent actually is today. Let me look at a different source here just to make sure. Yeah, the VIX is actually pretty low. Yeah, Brent 95s. WTI crude is at 97s, almost 98s. And again, Coreweave, guys, on this deal with Anthropic, up to almost $98 a share as well for Coreweave. So, and if we take a look at yields today, let's take a peek at yields this morning here. Here's yields. Yields are currently 10-year Treasury yields are currently at 4.29%. 4.29%. If you look at the trend of yields, yields have really been flat since the ceasefire was announced. So here's yields. Here's 10 years. They're pretty flat since the ceasefire was announced. And here's the 2-year Treasury yields. 2-year Treasury yields, again, if we look at a 5-day trend, they're pretty flat as well. They're not really moving too much. Here's 2 years. If we look at the odds of a rate cut decision, which CPI is going to directly impact this. If we look at the odds of a rate decision here, in December, it's only looking like 26.5% chance we cut rates this year, ahead of the CPI report. So there's only about a 26.5% chance that we're going to most likely cut rates this year as of now. Now, this inflation data we get today, which again includes March data, which includes the inflationary aspects of the Iran conflict, again, that drops today. 72.5% chance we pause rates all year. So there's still a 72.5% chance we cut no rates this year. We do not raise this year, which obviously is the majority. Gold and silver, if we could take a look at it. Gold and silver basically flat on the day. Gold's still around 4,800. Silver on the other end is at about 75.75. We can also look at Bitcoin today, guys. So we can look at Bitcoin. So, yeah, you could ask. That's actually a subject I know a lot about.
What would a significantly lower number mean for possible rate cuts?
A significantly lower number for inflation would increase the odds of rate cuts. Because for the Federal Reserve, if you are going to cut interest rates, you need you need a Goldilocks situation. Not a Goldilocks, but you need the right situation to cut interest rates. The Fed has two sides of their mandate. They call it a dual mandate. One of them is that you need strong labor. In an ideal market, you need strong labor, strong, economic growth. And then you need low inflation. 2% is their target. So the lower the reading, the closer it is to their target, the more green light they can have to focus on the labor market and the economy in terms of interest rate cuts, so forth and so on. So if we get a really low print, that's probably going to surprise a lot of people. And one of the stories that we're going to get from this potentially is that, maybe this Iran conflict's not affecting prices as much as people think. Now, I think we're going to see this Iran conflict affect prices, obviously, but lower is better. And, CPI is one of those readings where, generally speaking, low is good, high is always bad. Regardless of where we're at, unless it's like really, really low, which can sometimes indicate like weak economics. But outside of that, generally low is very good, and that's how markets normally react. So I would say with the CPI report versus a lot of other reports and prints, this is one of those things where lower is almost always better. Metapop okay. Pre-market. Yeah, here's Bitcoin. Bitcoin at 72,000 right now. 72,257 for Bitcoin. You can look at like XRP as well, some here. Oh wait, this is let me make sure we get the right one. There we go. Yeah, XRP up 134s. So crypto's doing a little bit better today. Again, here's the NASDAQ, here's the S&P, here is the Dow. Again, hit that like button, guys. I want 500 likes today. If I don't get 500 likes, I'll send it back. All right, I'll send you guys back. You guys having a bullish or bearish week this week, or a green or red week? Let me know. Also, what asset would you rather me have on the main screen here? Let me know in chat right now. That's a good question also. What asset should I have on the screen here today, guys?
I'd just like to watch gold.
Yeah, gold's interesting. Yeah, my crypto portfolio. Do you guys think the NASDAQ will drop as well? It depends on what inflation shows up as, to be honest. There's two main stories right now in this market today. CPI inflation and the Middle Eastern conflict in Iran. Do we stop strikes on Lebanon? If we get news that we're not, that it's not really us, but if we get news that Israel is it, then that's a situation where markets could celebrate ahead of the talks that we're doing this weekend. So I see oil, gold. Green week so far. Yeah, I kind of asked two questions at once. What's up,
Britt? I don't think they will.
Yeah. Hey, nice tie. Flat week despite the fear. IV is surprisingly low. Yeah, honestly, markets haven't been moving as much. I think markets are just getting conditioned to react less based off of all the different tweets and conflict news and economic reports we're getting. I think markets are just getting conditioned to react less.
You think they're just kind of creating their own stability based off of just not being able to react anymore?
To a certain extent, yes. I think we are essentially just kind of getting so baked into this, like, to a news-driven market is what this is. This is a news-driven market. And so I think markets are just simply getting baked in to a news-driven market, to where we've had so many different catalysts come out in that regard in terms of news and markets and economics and everything, that markets are just, they're getting conditioned to react less. With so much craziness going on, essentially, people are becoming numb to it, I think is why we're seeing that. It's also, some people are on spring break. Like, it's kind of like we had the holiday. Like, there's a lot of other stuff probably going on, but that's what it is so far for me. All preparations for the talks. Yeah, Coreweave still moving. U.S. Trade Representative Greer says we're in constant communication with auto companies. He said China is responsible for eliminating any harmful Iran ties. Collaboration to begin with phased infrastructure rollout regarding Coreweave. He said if China is involved with Iran, that obviously complicates relations. He says right now we're in a good situation on China trade. We're trying very hard to have stability with China. Not every challenge with China is resolved. He said manufacturing is about 10% of GDP in the US. It's too low. Yeah, I mean, we're not known as a big manufacturing hub. Maybe AI will change that, though. I mean, it's possible. But, again, NASDAQ's sitting high here. But, again, I'm watching this level. I don't know how much CPI is going to move things. But, I'm watching this level in the NASDAQ. We'll see if those levels hold. I'm not saying it's good shorts in NASDAQ here. We're not investment professionals.
How's the tech sector acting overall today?
Well, software has been still on a slump here. I see somebody say SAS is still getting wrecked. I'm assuming you mean software as a service, which is SaaS is the pretty well-known abbreviation for it. Yeah, software's still been getting slumped, to be honest here. Like, it's not... again, people are still assuming that AI is going to continue to eat its lunch, so to speak. And so software overall is just not loving life right now. Here's Intuit. Microsoft is coming down a little bit today now. Red day yesterday. Salesforce CRM. It's had a tough time too. If you look at Salesforce, really bad few years, or really bad year and a half for Salesforce, honestly. It opened up 2025 at about 260. It's at 170s now for Salesforce. Snowflake also completely retraced back down on the year. So software stocks are just in a slump, and they still, that's one of the big worries in markets right now is software. SanDisk is going nuts. Yeah, memory. Look at SanDisk, guys. 850s for SanDisk. What a crazy move here, man. Those are running. SanDisk is pumping here. Let's see what happens, but it is time here, guys. It is time. We have about 35 minutes left. We got about 30 minutes. Gold, oil. Yeah, we're watching gold. We're watching oil for sure here. Here's oil. Oil's, again, a little red on the day. A little red. But all eyes are going to be on the CPI print this morning, to be completely honest. Like, most people are going to be watching the CPI print to see if we get any craziness today. Yeah, people are going to be watching for oil and how this affects everything. Gold and silver, again, down pretty significantly over the last week or so, but starting to fight back here. Actually, gold and silver's not down. I'm thinking of other stuff. Yeah, but remember, the Fed is going to be looking at core inflation, so we're going to see if we get any secondary effects on inflation today with core. What do you guys think core shows up at? Give me a percentage. Core is expected today, chat. core is expected today at 2.7% year over year and 0.3% on the month for core. So even core, which again, I'm going to go back to this because this is an important understanding about inflation data. Core excludes food and energy, but there's secondary effects of high oil prices on inflation. How is there secondary effects? Well, higher gas, higher diesel prices like trucking, you know, all that stuff like airlines. With higher oil and gas and diesel and everything, and fuel, with higher fuel in general, airlines are going to have to, the margins on airlines are going to get affected by higher oil prices. Because of that, a lot of the time they pass those prices on to the consumer, which is included in core. Shipping costs increase generally because people have to pay more for gas and fuel and diesel. And so they're going to pass that cost on to consumers. And so even with core excluding energy prices, there's still a big chance that we at least get some secondary effects of inflation on core prices. And that is a big story of the day.
Basically, you still see it in supply line costs.
Right, exactly. Like we're going to see it passed on in a lot of different ways. NASDAQ actually started to dip down some here. And so because of that, a lot of people are watching core today. And a lower core number might be pretty optimistic. Like if it's looking like headline is high, but core is in a little bit better situation, you know, people might be a little bit less nervous about the inflation print that we're potentially getting today. So if we can get a good situation here where we have low core inflation, even if headline inflation is still elevated, and it's going to be elevated. It's not going to be what it was last month. You know, headline inflation again expected here at 3.3% today. 3.3% for headline inflation. You know, that's still pretty freaking high. It's almost a full percentage point over the last reading of 2.4% for February. Again, 0.3% for core versus 0.2%. That's only a 0.1% jump. But even if we look at headline month over month, it's expected at almost a full percentage point month over month. So it's not a small jump here. This is not a small jump. And if it comes on higher than these numbers, obviously it can still cause panic today. And I think that's one of the big stories you want to pay attention to. Is if it comes in higher than these numbers, it could very, very clearly potentially show some panic here. And so you just want to be careful. Yeah, there's risks. Essentially is what I'm saying. There's risks. Now we have 30 minutes until this report drops. So we still have some time. But I'm wondering if the NASDAQ is going to be boring or slow ahead of this report. A lot of the time, the NASDAQ can kind of chop and trend sideways ahead of these big reports. So, yeah, we'll see what happens here, guys. Not enough time has passed to understand the effect. These effects are not instant. Yeah, for sure. Especially secondary effects are not going to... We're not going to see instant effects to the secondary market. There's usually a little bit of lag. Secondary inflation is what I mean. There's usually a little bit of lag in between it. You know, so it takes time for those costs to get baked into the, you know, new dynamic of oil prices. And so, you know, while we might see some secondary effects, we might not see the full extent of them, is the thing. But if the ceasefire happens, again, I'll say it once, I'll say it again. The big risk here is that the Strait of Hormuz does not go back to pre-conflict state of flow of oil, right? We got news earlier that the president, you know, the president basically talked about this over the last few days, in which he said he's hearing that Iran. I'm paraphrasing. I can't remember the exact quote. This is just off the top of my head. But he basically said he hears that Iran is charging tolls for ships to pass through the strait. And then he said something like, they better not be, right? But I think they are. And I think this is pretty clear that they are charging tolls to pass through the strait. And that is not pre-conflict conditions. You know, pre-conflict, there were nothing like that. There was no dynamic like that. And so if they are charging tolls and that continues to be the new dynamic of oil in the Middle East, that's obviously not good for inflation long term. It's just not good for inflation long term. And so we'll see what happens here, guys. We'll see what happens. But, you know, I think there's risks that we don't see the same dynamic in the Strait of Hormuz. And if we do see a more free flow of oil through the strait, it's going to include more conflict lasting longer, and because it's going to, you know, if that makes sense. But let me know if you guys agree with that. Even though CPI is higher, market's still going to pump because of Ponzi. Yeah. It's also highly illegal by maritime law. Can you hear the music? Is it too loud? Is the music too loud, chat? Let me know. The chat should awaken as soon as I ask this question, because everybody apparently has an opinion on this. All right. Music's fine. Yes. Slightly. Music's okay. Music is loud AF. No. Yes. Dude, it's so split on the music, bro. It's so polarized. Yeah, it's fine. No, bro. Yes. No. We be clubbing.
The individual volume on people's speakers.
Yeah, no, it's not. It's fine. A little loud and too rave. Okay, so you're more of a complaining. Here, I'll turn it down slightly. I'd rather it be a little bit too low than too loud for some people. So, yeah, there we go. That should be better. Play better music. I can't really hear the music right now, to be honest. There's something going on with my speakers. I genuinely can't hear the music right now. I'm gonna start charging people donations to change the song. Just joking. But yeah, this is a really important report, guys. Hey, here's another question I have for the chat right now. Should we cut interest rates right now? Should we cut interest rates? How many do you think we should cut interest rates in the next 3 months? Is a good question. Should we cut interest rates? I also heard yesterday, just speaking on this topic, that charge tolls for songs. Yeah, that's right. That's right. Yeah, so yeah, Britt, you could ask you could ask all that stuff. I also heard yesterday, here's something I heard yesterday regarding the Senate banking panel is no longer intending to conduct a confirmation hearing for Kevin Warsh next week, according to Punchbowl. This was reported yesterday. And I thought the subpoena thing was over with Jerome Powell. And this is all relevant for rate cuts, obviously. If Warsh is much more dovish. Duck Song requested. Hey, thank you, Pawn. I appreciate the donation, brother. Yeah, thank you so much. I appreciate the dono. But here we go, guys. CPI coming out very soon here. Very soon. AI will predict our next crash. Duck Song. Honestly, I can't really even hear the music. It's somewhere in here. I just don't know where. Jerome Powell has 4 more years. Raise rates. Do not cut. Cut tax interest rates. Folks are broke out here. Cut the dang rates now. Cutting rates might actually make inflation worse. So cutting interest rates, if people are broke, one of the risks of cutting rates is inflation. And so essentially what I'm saying is like cutting interest rates might stimulate the labor market more. And that's good. Not as much as people might think, but cutting rates might stimulate the economy a little bit more. But the risk is inflation. The reason we haven't been cutting rates is the risk to inflation from the Iran conflict. And again, I've said it once, I'll say it again. Prior to this Iran conflict, I might argue a rate cut. Now that the Iran conflict has happened, obviously it's more risky to cut rates right now. And so, yeah, but we have to understand how this inflation started. Which inflation are you talking about? It's during 2020. Yeah, I mean, during 2020, I saw Britt ask a question here. And the question was, what's the highest inflation's been in the last 20 years or something like that? Or maybe he said since 2019. Let me see the question he sent me in the Discord.
It was since 2019.
Yeah, since 2019. The highest has been since 2019 was inflation got up to 9.1% in 2022 of June in 2022. And so if you look at it here, that increase right here was the highest it's been in the last 5 years. Now, this is from a very specific situation. Here's 2020 right here on this chart. 2020 is right here. Everything happened in 2020 and the economy tanked. Okay. And so what the Federal Reserve did is they stepped in, they brought rates to almost zero. You can see, if we look at like a correlation between the federal funds rate and a graph on the federal funds rate, you can kind of see this correlation here. Here's 5, we got to do maybe 10-year chart. So here's a 10-year chart on the federal funds rate, which is the rate the Fed actually moves. This is after 2020 right here. So you can see they brought rates to almost zero and they kept them there for a while. And then what happened was that because of they also printed, they did quantitative easing, which is where the Fed creates online money and then uses that online money to buy up a bunch of bonds, expanding their balance sheet. They buy up a bunch of assets, really expanding their balance sheet. But this causes inflation. It's a more desperate move to try to get interest rates lower in a lot of different ways. But this super low interest rate environment, as well as the money printing, as well as like supply chain problems, stimulus checks, and more, caused this spike to inflation. By 2022, all of this dovish action by the Federal Reserve, and really it wasn't just the dovish action, it was 2020. Like what happened in 2020, supply chain, stimulus checks, everything else, caused this 9.1% print by June of 2022. And again, prices don't really slow down, or prices don't really go down, they slow down, right? So once these prices increased, we're basically stuck with those prices. They're not really going to literally decrease. It's not like we're going to see those prices come back down. We're stuck with those high prices. And that's why a lot of people are still unhappy modern age, is because we're still dealing with this right here, this super, super high inflation print. And I give them a little bit of credit. Like, people like to complain and say, oh, you know, they made inflation spike. And again, I've said this once, I'll say it 1,000 times. If they did not do that at the time, people would be complaining about that too. If they just stuck around, they didn't do what they did, people would say, oh, the Fed's not doing anything, we're all struggling. So either way, they're going to get hate, to be honest. But that, don't get it twisted. This is why people are still unhappy regarding inflation modern age. Inflation's at somewhat of a reasonable level. At least it was prior to this conflict. We were at, what, 2.4%. Some people don't agree with that. Some people don't believe that number. But that's kind of where we're at. But that's heading into this. So this is the CPI inflation graph. I do expect to jump up today. Obviously, most people are expecting a pretty big jump up here. So if we look at where the percentages are now for CPI, we're expecting to jump up to really about right here today. So we expect headline inflation to jump up to really about right here today. If we come in as expected, which is a big if. Who knows what we're going to freaking show up as. But if we show up as expected today, that's what people are looking at. Is you know, a big jump up to maybe right here is what we're looking. So we will see what happens, guys. We will see. But yeah, that's what we're at. Will CPI stay the same again? No. CPI will not stay the same again. CPI is not going to be 2.4% like it was for February. CPI is probably going to be over 3%. Again, I'm going to give my guess. My guess is 3.1. I'm going to go with 3.1% guess for inflation data today. I did get the last one right. Like I said, y'all would never hear the end of it. I did get the last one right. If I get this one wrong today, I'm just going to pretend I never even said anything. But I got the last one right. Just remember. Never forget. Never forget.
What's your reasoning for why it's going to come? Why you think it's going to come in a little lower than projected?
Honestly, I think everybody expects it to show up high. I think everybody expects it to be sky high, and maybe they're right again. Honestly, to be honest, it's just a pure guess. It's just a straight up guess, which is honestly what I've always done with CPI. Somehow I've gotten them right, and it's an educated guess. Like, I'm looking at trends and some stuff like that, but I'm guessing it's going to be higher, but it's not going to be as high as people think. Is my guess. I think that's a reasonable story to expect. Maybe I'm wrong. Again, maybe we show up at freaking 3.7. I really don't know. I really don't know. But it really is just a straight up guess. I don't know if I'm just getting lucky getting the CPI report right, but it really is just a straight up guess. And we have 20 minutes left, chat. 20 minutes left. You got the last two right? Hey, dude.
Yeah.
Love you, bro.
Love you.
Have a good day, bud.
Okay.
It's Friday. Love you, dude. Yeah, yesterday we had GDP show up at 0.5% though. So a lot of people are going to say we are starting to see some cracks in the economy here as well, with GDP at, again, 0.5% versus the previous expectation and reading of 0.7% for quarter four. So
Joker wonders if you get insider info from Powell. I mean, you have been friends for years, I think, right?
yeah, Powell and I are tight, man. We're tight, dude. You know, we barbecue every Sunday, you know, and he comes over. You know what I mean? Not a very good cook, though, to be honest. So shout out to Powell.
Well, you know, I mean, it's hard to get good when you don't have to cook for yourself.
Right. Listen, you know, when you're worth 40 billion or 40 million, you know, 50 million, you don't really need to cook yourself, bro. You know, he's
Yeah,
probably got.
I'm kind of making an assumption, but I mean, I think it's a pretty safe assumption.
Yeah, no, for sure. Can Powell cook, guys? You know. Let me know in chat. The question everybody wants to know. That's how you know what color tie he's gonna wear. Dude, Powell's tie is always purple. It's funny because I get people who are watching my stream for the first time, and I'm like, yeah, he's gonna wear a purple tie, and then he shows up in a purple tie, and they're like, how did he know, man? It's like, dude, he wears a freaking purple tie every time. You know, if he shows up in a non-purple tie, I'm worried. You know, I'm worried. Yeah. Anyways, guys. We have 18 minutes left until this incredibly important event in markets. Let's see what happens. I hear people say the IV, the implied volatility, is not that high. Oil is falling down, but I think most markets here, chat, are just waiting for this report to come out. Here's oil. Oil is rangy this morning. It is a Friday, but oil is rangy today. The NASDAQ is starting to chop ahead of this report as well. You know, it's been doing a little bit better than oil in terms of range, but for the last 45 minutes or so, the NASDAQ is sideways also. The S&P 500, if we can take a look at this today, S&P 500 is at 68.65 right now, 68.65. So, brace for impact. Yeah. I don't remember the context of the Netscape question. Yeah, you asked what made Netscape different. Netscape was a browser company. So in the 90s, when they didn't have like the well-known browsers that we have now where you just download the software off the internet and you use them. You used to buy, it was a software company, but you would buy it at the store in a box. It was a browser in a box. You'd buy it at the store in the box. I never did this. This is a little bit, I'm a little bit too young to do that, but that's what it was. And they made billions in their IPO. You could buy the browser, go to different stuff. They made billions. The problem is that Microsoft wanted to partner with them, and Netscape was like, nah, I'm not doing it. Like, I'm not partnering with you, Microsoft. And Microsoft said, okay, well, I'm going to start including our browser. This is Microsoft talking. We're going to include our browser, Internet Explorer, for free with Windows operating systems. And within a few years, Netscape went out of business. And so, yeah, that's what happened to Netscape. Eventually, like I said, AOL bought them. They were like $3 or $4 million, much lower than their initial valuation IPO. So,
yeah, I definitely remember when the internet came on a CD.
Yeah. The conflict's not over. Oil's still high. You can see where the conflict is based off of the price of oil. Oil's going to tell you where the conflict is. Now, it's looking more optimistic than it did 3 days ago, but oil is still premium versus where it was. And again, the reason the CPI inflation report is important today, guys, just don't get it twisted. There's a reason the CPI inflation report is important. And it's because, specifically, we're going to see the raised prices of oil reflected in it. And so this is when March started. Again, right here, we published a short. This is March 1st, right here, somewhere around there is March 1st. This is what oil has done since March 1st. So you can see the crazy swings in oil prices, still up a decent amount versus where it opened up in March. And so this is what's going to be reflected in today's inflation print in 15 minutes. This is what's going to be reflected, is the increases to the price of oil, which obviously impact headline inflation, which includes energy prices. But as I've said, it also impacts core inflation, secondary effects through core inflation. Again, higher energy costs, higher gas prices, higher diesel prices, worse margins for airlines means those costs and all of that get passed on to consumers over time. Now, there is a little bit more lag with secondary effects, but they will get passed on to consumers over time if those prices stay there. And so, not just headline CPI is expected to increase relative to where it was last month, but core is as well. Now, core obviously expected to jump up less, about 0.2 to 0.1% month over month or year over year, but they're still expected to jump. But again, the big number headline data is what's scaring a lot of people. So, that is what is important today. And again, we'll see what happens, guys. We'll see what happens. It's the biggest report of the month, in my opinion. Just based off of, everything going on. It's the biggest report of the month. Yeah, I saw you mention that earlier. Green week so far. Looking at our poll, 71% think higher today. So 71% think today's inflation print is going to show higher than expected. 29% think lower. Again, 71% think we're going to get higher than 3.3% year over year today. Again, I'm going with 3.1. I'm going on the under. But I definitely understand going on the over, considering I have no freaking idea what I'm talking about. I'm going with the under, though. And if I get this one right, chat, you will never hear the end of this. You will never hear the end of it. I told you guys 24,000 was a good buy the other day. Y'all talked me out of it. Y'all are never going to hear the end of that. And if I get this one right, it'll be 3 CPI prints in a row correct. Y'all will never hear the end of that.
Might be a seer.
Listen, I am a direct descendant of I don't know, I think it's Giles Corey from the Crucible, if you guys remember. He was the first man executed in the Salem witch trials. Direct descendant here. I'm not saying I'm a wizard, but 3.2.
I thought you were descendant of that psychic machine from Big.
That's right. Yeah. Funny story about Big, and I'll make it quick because we're getting my daughter watched half of the movie Big with me, but then we had to go, and so she was like, "Hey, Daddy, tell me what happens." And so I fed her the most ridiculous end to that story. I told her he stayed big. He had a bunch of kids. They were climbing trees one day, fell out of the tree. All the kids got injured. He turns to drugs, and all this bad stuff happens to it. And she bought it up hook, line, and sinker. She almost cried. Funny story about Big. When she actually watched the movie, she was pretty upset that I fed her,
It definitely would have been a much darker turn.
Yeah, she bought it all up, dude. She bought it all up. Anyways, 12 minutes here. 12 minutes. What's the percentage you guys have for CPI today? What's the percentage for CPI? Headline CPI today. What do you guys think? That's better than what happened. Yeah. Again, what's the percentage today, guys? Put the percentages in chat. 3.7. He becomes a songwriter for Nelly. She'll get you back. I'm sure she will. 2.8%. I can feel it. Tony, that's what I had. 3.1%. Dude, what happened? Did I exit out of my chat? I think I did. 3.5, 4%, 3.5, 3.9, 3.8. Y'all really think it's going to be that high? That's high. I mean, maybe.
Yeah, I think Maddie's going to play the long game and get you back when you're like old and infirm.
Yeah, the other day I beat her at ping pong with my left hand, So she's already kind of heated at me, Anyways, oil, guys. Look at oil dip. So something's going on. Let me see if this is catalyst driven or not, or markets are just pricing this in. We still have 10 minutes left until this report. I see no confirmed official information about the arrival of Qualibaf and Karachi in Pakistan. U.S.-Iran negotiations in Pakistan are going to focus on opening the strait and extending the ceasefire. There's tight security measures there. The main negotiations between Iran and America will be held tomorrow, they say. Pakistan media confirms the arrival of the Iranian delegation for negotiations. Okay, so Iran's there. A lot of people saying Iran's not there. But Iran showed up, it looks like. Hey, thank you for the donation. I see a donation. 2 things that markets are not focusing that much on are resolution and forced injected liquidity. Both a copy happened sooner than expected. Yeah, so you're talking about injected liquidity. You're talking about the repo operation they did. It wasn't QE though. Like, people interpret it as quantitative easing. Maybe you could say it was like mini QE, but it wasn't full on QE. Is what it was. But still, a lot of questions about when the Fed's going to start expanding their balance sheet again. And again, that's quantitative easing. That causes inflation much worse. So we'll see. It's not looking like we're going to do that anytime soon either, but it is an inevitability. Like, we will be doing that eventually. So we'll see when. I'm not sure. I appreciate the donation, brother. Thank you so much. Yeah, so it's tomorrow is when the main date. The Fed's daily says a high CPI reading will not be a surprise to anyone. So according to Feds Daily, high CPI is not going to shock anyone, and I agree. I mean, I don't think it's going to shock anybody either. I mean, as long as we're talking about higher than, than last time. I mean, we're obviously going to show up higher than last time. Anyways, here's the NASDAQ here. We have 10 minutes left, chat. Less than 2 minutes, about 8 minutes left. Let's see what we get today. But it's time. We have 1,600 people here already. This is a big report, guys. Obviously, very big report. You the birthday? Cheers to you. I don't know what that means, but thank you. I appreciate it. 71 to 21%. Yeah, looking at the poll, 71 to 29% is what I have on my poll here. Again, vote on the poll. Hit the like button. Hit the subscribe button, guys. Let's see what we get today. Here's the NASDAQ. NASDAQ is chopping a little bit ahead of this event. I think maybe the NASDAQ jumped up here because of the news that Iran delegation arrived, and there were some rumors and worries that they weren't, and that they're going to focus on reopening the strait and extending the ceasefire potentially. But yeah, Pakistani media did confirm the arrival of the Iranian delegation for negotiation. So they're there. They're gonna negotiate, and I think that's obviously a good sign. But yeah, we'll see what we get here today, guys. Again, CPI inflation data drops in 7 minutes. 7 minutes. My ping pong rival here. I beat Maddie at ping pong with my left hand. The other day, I beat her with my left hand. You know, the whole house cheered.
He's lying. Yeah.
The whole house cheered. I love you.
You're lying. Why are you lying?
I love you.
You know I beat you. Like,
I got a 40-minute applause from that. You know.
It wasn't for me. Nobody.
Look, my left hand. You know, what can I say? I'm gifted. These are skills I've earned in life. I love you. Have a good day. Again, the NASDAQ's still pretty flat. We're at 25,280s here. 25,280s. Yeah, the longest 7 minutes of the year. We got about 6.5 minutes left. Chat, hit the live button next to the play button. Put it in 2x speed. I don't know why my stream comments just stopped. Very strange. How much will CPI... Again, bull or bear reaction to CPI today, guys. We got 6.5 minutes left. Bull or bear reactions. 3.8% CPI. It's possible. I mean, we're expected at 3.3% today. So 3.8%, I mean... Obviously, it's high, but it's not outside the realm of possibility here. We could get a high reading. Yeah, we could get a high reading. Again, 6 minutes left here.
I feel like quantitative easing is a viable tool that's been overused in recent years.
Absolutely right. And people criticize Warsh, right? The new potential Fed chairman that is still yet to be confirmed. People criticize Warsh. Warsh historically has been pretty okay with rate cuts in general, against the overuse of quantitative easing, though. And I think that's I'm not political about it. I do think that's a fair argument. Quantitative easing causes much worse inflation. It's one of the reasons we had such bad inflation from 2020. And so rate cuts don't do as much to inflation as people think, but quantitative easing does. And so I'm not necessarily against that stance of like more free rate cuts, less quantitative easing. I think that's a fair stance. All right, guys, 5 minutes. 5 minutes. I see 4.1%. I see bull 2.8%. If we show up at 2.8%, we probably will bull react. All right, chat, listen, we have 5 minutes left. What assets do you want on the screen? I'm going to put the NASDAQ up and what else? NASDAQ up and the Dow, oil, maybe? NASDAQ and oil, S&P and oil, Dow and oil. What do you guys think?
I feel like oil definitely needs to be in the mix.
Yeah. Well, there's oil right here. So this is oil prices right here. Here we go. We got 4.5 minutes left. 4.5 minutes left. Bitcoin. Yeah, we can put Bitcoin up. A lot of people want Bitcoin too. I like Bitcoin. We'll watch Bitcoin as well. Tesla. Yeah, here we go.
Oil, gold, and Bitcoin mostly.
Yeah, 4.5 minutes left, chat. 4.5 minutes left. Here we go. If it goes at 2.8%, the market probably will really, really bullishly react to this, honestly. Again, we show up at that level, we are probably going higher at 2.8%. Now, I don't think we're going to show up at 2.8%, but it's freaking possible. I'm going to go with 3.1%. And, yeah, we have 4 minutes left, chat. 4 minutes left.
This shift said GameStop.
GameStop. Y'all are just saying some wild things now. A lot of people want Bitcoin, though. Here's Bitcoin.
You should give the people what they want.
Yeah, here's Bitcoin. Bitcoin's sitting at 72s right now, 72.2s. if we do 3.1%, again, I'm going to preface this with this is just a straight up wild guess. But if we show up at 3.1%, I'm assuming we go up. It depends on what core is. Again, core CPI is expected to jump up to 2.7%. But yeah, if we show up at 3.1, we'll probably get a bullish reaction. But it's not not set in stone. That is 0.2% less than expected. But again, we'll see, chat. We'll see. Here we go. We got about 2,000 watchers here. We still have 3 minutes left for this inflation report. About 3 minutes left here. It's time.
I can feel the anticipation building.
I know, man. Listen, it's important today. This is important. This is the first inflation report we're getting for March, which includes the rise in energy prices here. So this is a incredibly important report today, guys. Hit the live button next to the play button. Make sure you're caught up to the stream. Let's see if I'm right for the third time in a row. I go with 3.1% today. That's my guess. If I am right, like I said, y'all will never, ever hear the end of this. But it's time here, guys. It's time.
Yeah, man. The excitement is palpable.
I know. It's here. We have 2.5 minutes left, guys. Time's ticking down.
GameStop will surprise the world when it starts getting evaluated fairly.
Yeah, we'll talk about that later. But yeah.
Oh, no, I know. I just thought it was funny.
Yeah. All right, guys. Claude says 3.2%. Honestly, Claude got one of those reports right. I think it was like jobless claims report, right? Again, here's the NASDAQ. NASDAQ is up a little bit, but most things are flat today. We have exactly 2 minutes left, chat. Exactly 2 minutes left. Again, big stories of the inflation report today. Number one, how much does oil impact headline inflation, which includes the rise in energy prices? That's number one. Number two, what are the indirect effects on core inflation from this oil rise, from the Iran conflict? Those are the two big stories today. A lot of people are going to be focusing on core inflation. But again, we are here today, guys. We are here today. My reputation is on the line. We have gotten the last two right. But I'm worried because the last two were just straight up freaking guesses, and I don't want people basing anything around my straight up freaking guesses. But here we go. It is time. Data comes out in about 1 minute and 20 seconds here, chat. 1 minute and 20 seconds for this report. It's a big moment. It's a big time. Last minute predictions, bull or bear? Give me your last minute percentages potentially here. Bull or bear, last minute percentages. The data shows up in a minute. 1 minute left. Guys, 1 minute left for this data release. And we are going to read this report. This report is published by the Bureau of Labor Statistics here, guys. The Bureau of Labor Statistics publishes this report. We have 50 seconds left, guys. 50 seconds left. I see bulls in chat. I see bears in chat. 3.4%. Yeah, that's as expected. 3.3 is as expected. So I'm not necessarily against that prediction. I think that's a reasonable prediction as well. Mine's 3.1. It's expected at 3.3%. If we're talking on the monthly perspective here, it's expected at 0.3% and 1% on the month for headline. 0.3% for core. We have 20 seconds left, about 25 seconds. Hit the live button next to the play button. Put it in 2x speed, guys. Make sure your timer lines up with when this data actually comes out here. Because here we go. Here's the NASDAQ. NASDAQ's looking a little bullish ahead of this report. We have 15 seconds left. Guys, 15 seconds. Again, we have 15 seconds. Early about 6 seconds, 5 seconds, 4 seconds, 3, 2, 1. And here's this report. All right, guys. So CPI showed up at 3.3% year over year and 0.9% month over month, 2.6% on the year for core and 0.2% on the month. So almost all of it showed up 0.1% less than expected. Almost all of it showed up 0.1% less than expected, slightly lower than expected. Again, we showed up at 3.3% for headline CPI versus 3.4% expected. So basically flat or as expected today for headline CPI. 0.9% month over month, which some people had that expected as well. Basically flat. Core CPI did show up a little bit lower at 2.6 versus 2.7%. So basically, we showed up slightly better or flat everywhere. Here, everywhere. Again, slightly better or flat. 3.3%. If we take a look at this actual report here, consumer price index increased 0.9%. Hold on, let me grab this. We're going to read this report right now, so stick around. We are going to read this report right now. Stick around. And yeah. It showed consumer price index for all urban consumers increased 0.9% seasonally adjusted basis after rising 0.3% in February. The U.S. Bureau of Labor Statistics reported today over the last 12 months, all items increased 3.3%. The index for energy rose 10.9% in March, led by a 21.2% increase in the index for gas, which accounted for nearly 3/4 of the monthly all items increase. The shelter index also increased in March, rising 0.3%. The index for food unchanged over the month, as the index for food away from home rose 0.2%. The index for all items excluding food and energy rose 0.2% in March. Now we can take a look at some of these reports here, right here, some of these graphs at the bottom to see kind of the unadjusted 12 months ending in March. Number one, headline 0.3% flat, headline year over year. Yeah, so again, we can look at the food prices at 2.7%. Food away from home, 3.8%. Gas increased by a really large margin, 21.2% on the month. Fuel oil increased 30.7%. Energy 0.4%. Electricity 0.8%. Used car and truck prices decreased 0.4%. Apparel up 1%. Medical care down 1%. Services excluding energy up 0.2%. Shelter up 0.3%. Transportation up 0.6%. And so markets might react in a positive way here. I'm going to put this data up on screen, but the data was mostly flat here. It was mostly flat, all things considered. And again, I'm going to look, we're going to summarize this a little bit more here, but most people are going to consider this data flat for March. So most people are going to consider this data flat so far. Yeah, look at the NASDAQ. NASDAQ all the way down to 25,300s here. So the NASDAQ is starting to creep down a little bit. We are at 25,300. Oil hasn't really moved. It originally reacted negatively to this report. So oil actually originally did react negatively. But again, headline CPI 0.9%, massive beat or miss. So headline CPI year over year versus 2.4%. Core CPI was cooler or in line with expectations. So headline exploded to 0.9%. That's the biggest monthly print in years, but it is as expected. Again, gasoline went up 21.2% month over month, the largest monthly increase ever since it began in 1967. And so I'm going to put this data up on screen right now. Again, gasoline increased 21.2%, the largest monthly increase ever since it began in 1967. March CPI year over year increase is the largest since May of 2024. 3.3% did show up, but yeah, again, let me put this data up on screen so you guys can see it here. But yeah, it definitely was higher than last time, but everybody expected it to be higher. So it's all based off of what, to understand this, guys, it's all based off of what was expected. Core cooled a little bit, which is a good story. So excluding food and energy prices, they were expected to jump up, and we did kind of jump up some. Again, core CPI ended up showing up at 2.6, which is only 0.1% larger than last time year over year, and 0.2%, which is what it was last time. So we did not see too many rises to core inflation yet. Yet is the big question mark. Now, the longer this conflict continues, the more probable it is that we will see long-term effects to secondary inflation. But yeah, I mean, we're not seeing crazy price swings yet in terms of core inflation. Now, headline inflation, again, we've seen the largest rise to headline inflation since 2024 and more. So, we are seeing rises to headline inflation, but it's not as worrisome as maybe some people had it out to be. Now, we are kind of moving flat from this report. We did not have this crazy big swing here yet from this report. It's still a little early. But markets might be a little bit more optimistic here. We did retrace this entire move down. You can take a look at Bitcoin. A lot of people wanted to look at Bitcoin, and you can look at XRP as well. XRP jumped up on this report, so it's liking this report. If we take a look at Bitcoin specifically here and see how Bitcoin is moving on this report, Bitcoin is up from this report. And let's take a look at yields. Let's see what yields are doing on this report as well. Again, there's some scary numbers in this report. It's not necessarily good. There are some scary numbers, but I assume yields are going to be down a little bit here. Yeah, what this does is potentially opens the door for more rate cuts if it's less than expected for core, which is what the Fed looks at. And yields did decrease a little bit on this report, but not a lot. And again, data was mostly flat, all things considered here. We're going to put our scrolling banner up that kind of details everything at the bottom. But yeah, I mean, I think this is a little bit more optimistic than expected. You know, my prediction was 3.1. We ended up showing up basically flat as expected. Maybe you could argue a little bit lower. But headline inflation is the largest monthly jump in years, though. And the oil increases are the largest monthly increase ever. So 3.3% obviously still very high. And yeah, it's not necessarily good here. But versus expected numbers, it's not the worst it could be. You can see 2-year Treasury yields fall down a little bit on this report as well if I put this up. So here's two-year Treasuries. We're down a little bit, but not as much as we could be from the CPI report. So showing a little lower interest rate sentiment. The question right now that I have for chat is this bullish or bearish? Bullish or bearish? Put it up in chat right now. Is this bullish or bearish? Let me know. It will be revised higher. 3.3 is less than expected, but every other reading came out flat. Proceed with cautious optimism. Is this bull or bear? I see bulls, bears, longs, bullish, bear, bullish, 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 bullish. Almost everybody thinks this is bullish here today. I'm seeing much less bears in chat than we were before. Again, we said slightly lower. We basically ended up showing flat here. But I do think the core data looks optimistic to me. I think headline CPI month over month showed basically as expected. Maybe a little bit lower than expected if you expected 1%. Year over year showed up as expected or lower than expected. But core CPI showed up lower than expected than most were, versus most. Most people expected core to be at 2.7. We showed 2.6% on the year. Most people expected headline or core month over month, to show up at 0.3. We showed up at 0.2. So core data was a little bit better than expected. And I do see a lot of bulls in chat. But the question is now, where do we go from here?
I said bullish.
You think it's bullish?
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Oh, I was gonna say I have no real solid reasoning behind that. I'm just throwing it out there.
Yeah, and I mean, look, the NASDAQ did have this big pump here originally. But there's this dynamic sometimes with inflation data where sometimes the first move is the wrong move. And so you can see this big rip up in the NASDAQ, a big pop, a big move up here. Yeah, like that's a big move up, but we retraced very quickly back down. So we had this big pop up and then we immediately retraced back down here. So sometimes the first move is the wrong move. Again, right now, flat inflation data is, I think, a good thing. And I say flat versus expectations. You could even argue it was slightly lower than expected in some prints. The real problem here, though, is that this is still a very high print relative to the previous number here. But that's kind of what people expected with the Iran conflict and the higher prices of oil. The VIX, we can take a look at the VIX to see how markets are digesting this. And the VIX, let's see, 830 was right here. The VIX is actually up a little bit. So markets kind of interpret this as maybe a little bearish, but maybe high volatility doesn't necessarily mean up or down in this situation. It just means the high volatility from the CPI report is what I'm assuming there as well. But yeah, markets in general are interpreting this as neutral as of now, maybe slightly bullish. Again, we are up slightly on the NASDAQ relative to where we were prior to this report. The S&P 500 giving us a very similar reaction here. A big upward move when the data dropped, probably for some red, lower, negative, more lower than expected prints. But we were retraced all the way back down here. So we can look at the Dow as well. The Dow slightly higher than when this report came out. And we can also look at Bitcoin. So if you take a look at Bitcoin here, relative to when this report came out, Bitcoin is, I believe, a little bit bullish as well. Yeah, Bitcoin's up probably a little bit more than some of these indices that we're looking at here. So Bitcoin, here's Bitcoin right here. Bitcoin is up to 72.3s. So Bitcoin is up a little bit here as well. So markets are generally pricing this as cautious optimism is what my digestion of this report. Again, cautious optimism. Again, core CPI 0.2%, year over year 2.6%. Energy, the largest since September of 2005, up almost 11%. Gas up 21%, the largest in series history since 67. Fuel up 30+%. Shelter cooling to 0.3%. Airline fares up 2.7% and 14.9% year over year, which again is energy pass-through cost. It's going to cost more to fuel the planes. They're going to pass that cost on to consumers is the logic here. And so that is why, you can see fuel oils rising, gasoline rising, energy rising, and in that regard, airline fares going up 2.7%. So hot headline is all energy. Core was a little bit more contained and look a little bit lower than expected here. We'll see what rate cut odds do, but look at Bitcoin. Bitcoin's still climbing higher here. Although the Dow is turning back down. The NASDAQ itself is slightly green, but maybe we got some arguments for cautious optimism. I see some people trying to post like other channels. Like, listen, if anybody has to go to somebody else's stream and spam their channel, never watch them. They're unethical, I guess is the point. Don't do it, guys. Don't do it. And yeah, we'll see what we get today, guys. But the opening bell should be interesting. Maybe we'll see a delayed response to this data at the opening bell. Remember, use coupon code BGT. Lucid's great. I took a payout from them. They process it in 1 minute. Take Profit's great for beginners. Apex still got their 90% sale off. BGT. Let me know what BGT stands for in chat right now. They're affiliates. I'm biased. I try to be honest with people. I'm biased. I get paid by them, so of course I'm biased.
I do this out of the kindness of my heart. Indicates to me you don't have any confidence in your content.
Huh? What?
I said spamming somebody else's channel indicates to me that you probably don't have confidence in your content.
Yeah, for sure. You don't want to just make stuff that people want to see here, is what it is. Like, you make stuff people want to see, and you don't need to do that stuff. Yeah, Giant Big Taco. CNBC said this is a horrible report. I don't know, man. I don't interpret this as horrible. All of it is relative to expectations. Why is it relative to expectations? I mean, look, the previous number matters here. So the previous number matters, but all of it is relative to expectations. The best guru in Texas. I love it, Blaze. All of it's relative to expectations. And so we already knew headline inflation was going to jump. How could it not, with oil prices being such a wild percentage higher than where they were prior to March? Right? So, of course, headline inflation was going to jump. Right? But we expected this. Core inflation was more resilient. It was more immune to it. It showed up lower than expected and really the same as it did last time for mostly. I think the year-over-year reading showed up 0.1% higher, but it was virtually the same. Month-over-month was the same as well for core. And so what we're seeing is secondary effects are more immune, more resilient to some of this, oil price increases so far. And that's an optimistic good thing. Obviously, headline inflation is going to jump. Obviously, headline inflation is going to jump up. But, that's expected. Markets have already priced that in, so to speak. So, like I could say, and there's some bad signs here for sure in this print. The signs are definitely not good. But there's also some optimistic signs, I think. Like, we have some better signs. Like, look, CPI, core CPI was better than expected. Headline CPI, higher than last time, but still better than expected or as expected for headline. And if the ceasefire holds, we'll see what happens. But again, the traders are still betting that we're not going to get any rate cuts this year through 2026. And honestly, I don't necessarily disagree with that. I think the issue here now is the Strait of Hormuz. Even if we have a ceasefire, the Strait of Hormuz probably anytime soon, it's probably not anytime soon going back to the pre-conflict state of oil flow. And so that's an issue. Now, oil prices might decline relative to where they're at now. I think that makes sense. But the real question is, does the Strait go back to normal? And right now, it's looking like Iran's charging tolls. And so my point is, we might see elevated oil prices a little bit longer than people expect here. What do you guys think? Does the Strait in the next 6 months go back to pre-conflict conditions in terms of oil flow? Let me know in chat right now. Put yes or no. Does the Strait go back to pre-conflict conditions in regards to oil flow? What do you guys think?
The next 6 months, I think so.
6 months within 6 months. Do we go back to pre-conflict state of Strait of Hormuz oil flow? I'm seeing mostly no's. And I agree. I don't think we do. I think at the very least for the next 6 months to a year, we're going to see at least somewhat worse flow of oil through the Strait of Hormuz. And we're going to see somewhat elevated oil prices because of it. So, again, if it does happen in terms of going back to the normal flow of Strait of Hormuz oil flow, it's going to involve us going deeper into this conflict. You know, we'll see what negotiations happen. But at this point, Iran has to stop charging tolls for that to happen, because prior to this conflict, that didn't go on. And we'll see what the continued effects of inflation are. Again, CPI did show up as expected, basically flat. And we'll see what we get today, guys. We'll see what we get. But yeah, anytime soon. Yeah, CPI data did show up basically as expected, but it's not really a good thing, so to speak. Again, oil's still very high relative to where it was last time. And obviously, I still think there's risks. What do you guys think? Was this a good report or a bad report here, guys? Good or bad report? Let me know. Nasdaq's
How often
still
do you
pretty
find
high.
CPI data comes in as expected?
What?
I said, how often would you say CPI data comes in as expected?
I would say maybe like 1 out of every 4 prints.
Okay.
It shows up as expected. Like once every 3 or 4 months we get an as expected reading. It depends on what. There's a bunch of different prints, right? So there's headline month over month, there's core month over month, there's headline year over year, and there's core year over year. So usually maybe one or two of those might show up as expected, but maybe once every 4 or 5 months, all of them show up flat. So
Okay.
it just depends on which one we're talking about. But yeah, this is a pretty neutral report versus expectations. Maybe a little bit more optimistic now in terms of, NASDAQ, oil prices, swings. Oil prices, if you look at the reaction from this report, we're down a little bit on oil. But maybe that has less to do with the report and more to do with Pakistan confirming that the Iranian delegation did show up for the negotiations and talks. So, that's possible. Again, headline showed up at 0.9. They expected 1 or 0.9. Core showed up at 0.2, which is a little bit lower than expected month over month. Headline showed up at 3.3% on the year. They expected 3.3 to 3.4. Core showed up at 2.6. They expected 2.7. So better core readings for sure. I want to see if markets are pricing anything. Like, here's the Fed watch tool. And markets are still kind of flat right now. We're not really doing crazy movement here. Markets are kind of flat. There's only a 1.6% chance that we raise rates next meeting. Still a 98.4% chance that we pause rates next meeting. Here's June. June has that 97% odds that we're still going to stay the same. We're not really seeing any big swings here. This is virtually unchanged. The odds of a cut did increase a little bit, though. So this was about 26% prior to, and this is these are all rate cuts, potentially. So these are all rate cuts. This is 25 right here. This is 50. This is 75. This is a rate hike odds, and then obviously this is a pause. All right. So prior to this report, these odds were a little bit lower than expected in regards to rate cuts this year. So these odds were about 26% chance total when you add all these three up, about 26% chance of rate cuts this year. Now they are at about 35% chance. So odds of a rate cut this year did go up about 9% from this CPI report, which shows that traders are digesting it at least a little bit for more optimism regarding rate cuts, especially with the core number being a little bit lower than some of the expected data here. Markets did originally react positively to this report as well, but although we did give it all back within a few minutes. The VIX is down. Yeah, the VIX is down, but it's not from this report. It is from this report. So the VIX did gap down some from this report, probably from the initial upward response that we got from it. So originally, NASDAQ went up, but then we filled that gap, and so that makes sense that the VIX was opened like much lower after that candle, but then kind of rebounded and filled that gap on the upside. It's just the opposite of what the NASDAQ did. Like if we put the NASDAQ and the VIX side to side here, it's basically the same thing but opposite if you look at this, right? So here's the NASDAQ. Here's when the report came out. Upward move, downward, fill, and then sideways. Same opposite. Downward move, upward fill, and then sideways on the VIX. The VIX gauges volatility specifically with markets in negative responses in markets. Yeah. This is as bad as expected. This is a bad as expected is what you're saying. Yeah, no, I agree. I mean, as expected, jumping up a full percentage point month over month for headline is still not good. But again, markets, you got to understand, markets bake this stuff in. So markets have priced this in essentially already here, is what this shows. So like essentially markets have already priced in a full percentage point increase. And so, you know, like you have to understand it in terms of what's baked into markets already. Not what we showed up last time, what's baked into markets, right? And right now, what was baked into markets was the expected reading of 0.9% month over month for headline and 0.3% on the month for core, right? That was baked into the markets already. Meaning, us showing up at 0.9% flat headline as expected, maybe we're not going to get as much market movement. Us showing up a little bit lower than expected for core, a little bit more optimistic for core versus what was expected and already baked into the market. And so you got to understand, people do this with earnings a lot, where people like kind of buy up, company reports good EPS revenue and guidance, companies rip up. Or people buy and expect companies to rip up. The issue is that a lot of those moves are already baked in, especially with some of these big companies. Like NVIDIA is always expected to beat EPS revenue and raise guidance to a point where 97% of people expect NVIDIA to beat EPS, raise guidance, have better than expected revenue as well. To where if we don't beat everything, if we don't beat and raise, NVIDIA's probably going down. Even if we beat EPS, flat revenue, raise guidance, NVIDIA's still probably going down. And so you just got to understand the context of current markets. And the context for the CPI report is people already expected it to be terrible. They already expected oil to bump inflation up a full percentage point month over month. So as expected or lower than expected still is an optimistic thing in that regard.
What's BDPS?
What?
So what's BDPS?
I'm not sure. Where do you see that?
Said it several times, I think.
Oh, BDPS, not BDPS. Yeah. It's beat EPS, earnings per share.
Oh, it made it sound like, I'm sorry, it sounded like you were saying individual letters.
No, I speak fast. I'm sorry, brother. I'm sorry. But no, it's BDPS. EPS is margins in a company. So it's earnings per share. Revenue is basically like how much money they're bringing in. EPS is margins. It's how much they're earning per share.
Okay.
And so beating EPS basically means you had better margins than expected. Beating revenue means you brought in more money than expected. Raise guidance means like the outlook for the future is better than expected for earnings specifically. And earnings season's coming up. Yeah, it's coming up.
Okay, thanks. That made me feel like a little bit of a doofus, but thanks.
Everybody make fun of Brit right now. Do it now. You know, just
make
joking.
me cry.
Don't do it. Yeah, don't do it. Hey, what's up, Bruce? How you doing, bro? Dude, I hurt my arm at jiu-jitsu the other day, dude. I really did. I hurt my arm. I've been getting hurt, dude. I'm getting hurt. You know, I'm getting to the top end of my 30s. Bro, I've been getting hurt lately. I think that's how it goes. But freaking rolling with a brown belt I regularly trade with. I had him in Turtle. He does the arm clamp sweep, which I knew was coming. He clamps the arm, tries to spin and roll and get side control. I knew it was coming, though. I scrambled out of it. But now afterwards, my elbow, dude. It feels better, though. Like, I'll train next week anyway. But
I think you need more stretching and strength and conditioning on your off days.
I definitely need more stretching, for sure. You know. Kiri or Olberg, that's really tough, to be honest. Or Jiri. I don't know if it's Jiri or if the J is silent. Let me know, chat. Y'all know. Again, here's oil prices. Oil prices are a little bit red on the day. They're slightly red. Slightly red. You need some peptides, bro. Bro, I just tore my knee. I did peptides for a while. You know? The problem is, like, they're too new for me to really be on them. Like, I used them to heal after my knee. Like, BPC and stuff. But they're too new science for me to really, like, commit to being on them long term. It's just too risky. You know, anything, like, especially, like, Sermorelin. Like, I'm not getting on that long term, dude. You know, anything that, like, there's always risks, I think. Anyways, oil's popping higher here. Oil's popping higher. We're at 98s right now, 98s. The negotiations between the U.S. and Iran may last for 2 to 3 days, according to an emissary of the Iranian leader. Again, according to an emissary of the Iranian leader, the negotiations might last for 2 to 3 days. So these negotiations might drag on until next week. I'm also seeing oil pop and the NASDAQ dip here. So something is causing a big increase, not a big increase, but a somewhat of a jump in the price of oil. Oil is right at that previous close. And you can see we have a negative correlation with the NASDAQ here. So the NASDAQ is falling down right now. And oil is ripping higher here. So, yeah, so I'm a blue belt. But yeah, look, something's going on right now. I don't know if it's the negotiations between the U.S. may last longer than expected. It's not a huge move, but it's something here. You can also see Bitcoin is coming back down on this news too. So here's Bitcoin right here. So Bitcoin fell a little bit from this news catalyst. Like Bitcoin dropped somewhat here from it, but not a crazy drop either here. Yeah, that's the stack I did, BB, whenever I hurt my knee. Hey, what's up, big trader? Hey, glad you're joining us here, brother. Britt was just invited to join the channel to keep up the illusion, or the channel to keep up the illusion of beginner trading. Yeah, something's going on. Again, oil spiking up, Nasdaq dipping down. I'm not gonna exaggerate it and cause it a crazy move, but it's something. It's something. Yeah, again, some of the big talking points from the inflation report, just to reiterate these. Energy, up 11% in March. That is the largest increase in energy prices since September of 2005. That's the first scary print here. The second scary print, gasoline, up over 21% in March. That is the largest increase in series history since 1967. The largest increase ever since they started calculating it, which is a big distinction here because you know they had some wild swings in the early 1900s, but since they started calculating it since 1967, gasoline up 21.2%. Fuel oil up over 30% in March, the largest since February of 2000. All right, those are the scary prints. A little bit more optimistic prints. Shelters cooling to only 0.3% gain. Airlines, not optimistic, but airlines are up 2.7%. Again, these are the secondary effects of oil prices and gas and diesel and everything, fuel. So when fuel's up so much, it costs more to fly planes. They're going to pass that cost on to consumers. You see airline fares up 2.7% on the month and almost 15% year over year, which again is the energy pass-through dynamic we just talked about. So again, hot headline is all energy prices, but core is contained is going to be one of the stories here. Again, hot headline, core contained a little bit more than expected here. We did see, again, if we look at markets right now, if we look at odds, at this point in time, here's the December 2026. We actually have a little bit more optimistic data here for rate cuts now. So prior to this, it was at 26% chance that we would get at least one rate cut this year in 2026. It has now jumped up to really about 34%. So maybe we're going to get a little bit more rate cuts this year, but it's not by any type of like major margin or anything like that. Yeah, CPI data is out. Again, it showed up basically flat everywhere. Core was slightly lower than expected. So basically flat CPI with core showing up slightly lower than expected. You can see all the full increases and decreases to inflation right here at the bottom scroller right now. But we do have oil jumping in the NASDAQ and other indices falling. I don't see any news, but I do see, okay, so I do see a news here. A senior Iranian official, they say they're locked in a dispute over the composition and authority of the delegation which set to negotiate with the United States, according to the information received by an Iran international, according to sources. Right? So a bunch of different sources. Basically, he said this, she said that, but senior Iranian officials are locked in a dispute over the composition and authority of the delegation set to negotiate with the U.S., according to the information received by other sources. So basically what they're saying here, I think, and maybe the chat will correct me if I'm wrong, but basically what I'm saying is, I think, is they're questioning the ability of the current party to even negotiate what they're saying. Like, do they have any actual weight or sway over the decisions in Iran? Is what the worry is here. Like, basically, the people they're meeting, there's questions about whether they can even, whether they have that type of influence in negotiating power in Iran. There's 9 o'clock. We are seeing oil jump up at 9 o'clock. We're seeing the NASDAQ fall down at 9 o'clock. And yeah, let's see what we get.
Basically, if they do reach some kind of negotiation, can they even do the people even have the power to implement it in country?
Right, exactly. So like even Yeah, like there's a big question mark here regarding all this stuff now. Also, guys, if you haven't already, help support your boy here on this channel. Check out Lucid. Lucid, a great way to learn how to day trade. They processed the payout for me in literally 1 minute here. Literally 1 minute here. If we pull up the Discord, I posted this yesterday. Lucid processed the payout in 1 minute for me yesterday or the day before. And I have receipts here. Check this out. So Lucid, one of the better options. I gotta find my post here. But Lucid, one of the better options here. For funded account programs. You can use my coupon code BGT. There's a bunch of different ones in the chat or in the description here. BGT, Tradeify, Apex, still 90% off sale going on at Apex right now. But yeah, Lucid, I processed the payout with them. It took 1 minute. And I got it in my account basically that quickly here too. Let me see. I don't know where it's at. I have to find it. Maybe I lost it. But 1 minute payout, Lucid. Check it out. I'll put the link up. Great way to help support the channel. They are an affiliate of mine. I am biased because I get paid by them, but genuinely useful. Here's the link. Check it out. Yeah, CPI's been out for like 30 minutes now. I'll pin this to the top of the chat. There you go. Are you guys bullish or bearish on the day? We're going to get ready to start trading here. Are you guys bull or bear on the day right now? Bullish or bearish on the day, chat? What do you guys think? Hey, thank you, Mr. Protein. Ugh. I'm a bear. The bears. You can't need buy. Bull, bear, bearish. Bearish, bull, seagull. I can respect seagulls. Seagulls are kind of cutthroat, bro. They're getting their food. You know, bears. Bear, bull. Let me pop this out again and see if this is still working. Bull, bear. Yeah, again, I think it all depends on whether we can actually come to an agreement in Iran. We have seen the NASDAQ fall a little bit here. We're basically flat since the CPI report dropped. We've seen oil rise. It's over the previous closing price and technically green on the day today. But there's still risks, of course, and I think you got to just be really careful here regarding all this stuff right now. We'll see what the opening bell brings, but dude, why is this stopped? Here, hold on, let me exit. Palantir. Yeah, Palantir is moving because Michael Burry said some stuff regarding Palantir. Michael Burry basically said Anthropic is eating Palantir's lunch, so to speak, is what it is. So yeah, that's that. Okay, there we go. We got it back. I was confused for a second here. We're here. I don't know what I just did. I'm still here, guys. Don't worry. I'm still here. Apparently, I was messing with the background here, dude. I meant to get a new dock in, and apparently I did something else. I don't even know what I did. But yeah, I'm here. I'm back, guys. I'm back. Listen, everybody hit the like button. Do it now. All right. Show me you support the channel. But we're here, guys. We're here. John's playing peekaboo. I'm trying up here, man. I'm trying. We're heading into the opening bell. We got 25 minutes left until the opening bell. We'll see what we get. But it's not easy being green screened. I know, man. Listen. I know. One day we'll get Brita green screen. All right, guys. The NASDAQ is honestly pretty flat. I'm going to start trading here today. But the NASDAQ, honestly, pretty freaking low right now. NASDAQ at 25,300 here. I'm watching 25,000. We're going to document some levels here. Let's trade. We had a green day yesterday also. Watch. Watch me. I'm going to short the NASDAQ at 25,181. Hey, good luck, bro. Yeah, look at oil. So oil just actually fell a little bit ahead of the opening bell. So oil just dipped back down under the previous closing price. I'm watching breaking news right now. And again, an Iranian delegation is set to arrive ahead of high-stakes talks with the U.S. They're expected to send senior officials. U.S. delegation includes Vance and other envoys. Yeah, but again, there's apparently some type of rift going on in Iran over the negotiating team's makeup and mandate, according to Iran International. And so I think what we're seeing here is people are worried that the people there on Iran's side do not have the power to make the decisions that they are trying to make, is the worry here, I think. And honestly, they got so many leaders over there trying to figure out who does what regarding.
Well, especially now, and
Right.
I mean, I think that
It's scattered.
we're probably, yeah, and I think that probably means we're seeing a faction split.
Right.
But
No, for sure.
I might be wrong.
And I don't know if that's necessarily good for optimistic talks, but, you know, we'll see. Yeah, I don't know if that's necessarily good for talks. Yeah, let's do another poll here. I don't know if we're going to do a poll about Brit. You remind me of my old drummer. You just got better timing. I actually can play a little bit of drums. I can play a little. I have ADHD instrument skills. So I can play guitar a little bit. I can play drums a little bit. I can play a few other instruments some. I'm a jack of all trades, master of none, though. Like, I'm okay at all of them. Not good. Not really good at any of them.
I feel
Some
like I
would
could
say
learn the
that's my
guitar a
skill
little bit.
What's up?
I was just gonna say, I feel like I could learn the guitar, decently. I don't think I have any shot at learning the drums. I don't think I could do three separate things with three separate limbs at the same time.
It's all about conditioning here. Hold on. Yeah, so I actually find the opposite. Guitar is much harder to learn initially, in my opinion. You have to get your fingers conditioned for it. And guitar is really difficult to play in the beginning. I would start with chords if you're gonna learn. But I always found
my cousin's
guitar.
taught me a little bit. He's been playing for a long time. He played in Nashville for a while, actually.
Yeah. Wait, did we do? Okay, yeah, we're still here. Yeah, that's basically me too, Tim. I'm mediocre at everything, but I know how to play it at least a little bit. Anyways, Nasdaq's starting to head back up here. Oil back down. Let's do another poll. We asked people about inflation data. Let's do another one. Were you good at coding? I taught myself how to code. I'm okay at JavaScript and React Native. Like I can build stuff. The problem is that AI basically renders all my skills useless now. Like, I wasn't good enough to be like a manager or anything like that. I never wanted to. I always, necessity is the mother of invention. So I learned programming before AI really took off so I could build financial things. But now that AI is here, just like the software slump that we're seeing in markets, my coding skills are basically following the same trajectory. I haven't needed to, AI does it all now, fortunately. So we're going to do another poll with the CPI inflation data out. Are you bullish or bearish on today's opening? Bull or bear for today's open, guys? We got that poll now. It is live. With the inflation data now out, are you bullish or bearish? So far in voting, let's see what takes off here. So we're 75-25 bearish for the opening bell today, I think. Now, actually, bulls are in control at 60%. 64% bullish, 36% bearish. Yeah, CPI showed up at 0.9% on the month and 3.3% on the year for headline. Core showed up 0.1% lower than expected at 0.2% on the month for core. And what was headline? Headline was 2.6%. Or no, core was 2.6% year over year. Here, and speaking of that, I'm going to put a banner up that shows, the main numbers here in both. So we're going to get a banner up here that shows, the main number in both. So there we go. me download this again and make sure. All right, I got two different banners up. I'm trying to make sure we got it. I want to put this up on screen so people can see it. Yeah, there we go. So here is the here's the news. I might need to make this a little bit smaller. But headline did show up a little bit better than expected. Or a headline did show up. I would say it showed up basically flat, to be honest. But yeah, here you go. Here's it on screen right now. 0.9% on the month. Core CPI 0.2% on the month. So headline did show up hot like most people expected it to, but it wasn't as bad as some people predicted. So here's oil. We are looking to trade a little bit today, guys. We have about 19 minutes left until the opening bell. But the data is out. Yeah, we'll see what we get today. But the data is out. And yeah, look, again, core CPI 0.2% on the month, headline 0.9%. Next week, we do have PPI inflation data as well. So we do have some stuff next week. And at 10 o'clock today, we also have consumer sentiment for Michigan data and factory orders. So we got Michigan consumer sentiment and factory orders today at 0.2%. Expected for factory orders and 52 expected for Michigan consumer sentiment. I don't think in the context of markets that that's really going to make a big move here. But it could, and we'll have to see. What was I talking about with you, Britt, regarding something else? Maybe it wasn't.
Nothing that I'm aware.
Oh, it was, Britt. We were talking about something.
Wait, how long ago?
No, I'm just joking. I don't remember.
Okay.
Yeah, you're good. Yeah, looking at our poll, so we asked people bull or bear on the poll. 55% said bullish, 45% said bearish. And this is us trending into the opening bell. But again, 0.9% on the month for headline, 0.2% on the month for core. And I think this is pretty good. It's not great, but it's okay. So, pretty good, not great. We do see the NASDAQ starting to creep up higher here, so maybe we'll get some good trades going on. It was obviously high for everything considering what we have going on, but it wasn't as high as, like, it wasn't a shocking print, which it could have been, you know. Like, if we showed up at 3.8% today for headline, that's a situation in which markets are going to panic. So, you know, it's not as bad as it could be, really. Okay, so it looks like I fixed my chat somehow. When will we know what? Yeah, there's the NASDAQ. Oil still sideways. Here's gold. I get some people mentioning gold. Gold's up from this report as well. Look at oil start to jump, though, here. Again, questions regarding the meeting in Pakistan today are probably going to be stuff that moves the market now. We're still covering some of this news. But we did get news that Lebanon launched rockets into Israel. Sirens sounding in northern Israel after rockets launched from southern Lebanon. So I don't necessarily think that is good. Obviously, considering that is part of... Yeah. And we also, again, over the last few minutes, we heard that a rift apparently is going on in Iran over negotiating teams' makeup and mandate. So they're worried that the people that are meeting with them are not really big decision makers there. And so even if they negotiate a deal, that it might not matter anyway, is the worry. Do you think the CPI number is cooked? Or go ahead, Britt.
Oh, no, I was just going to say it might be an argument between more progressive and less progressive factions, is all I was going to say.
Sure. Yeah. No, 100%.
Or moderate might be a better word.
Right. Like, you're going to have some of the old factions that are just going to be like, that are probably just going to be like, nah, like, we're not doing anything. Like, we're not doing a deal at all. Like, this is it, you know. Yeah. It's on site, like, whatever, you know. And the new faction, obviously, is going to be a little bit more progressive in that regard, you know, in terms of making a deal.
Yes, so, I agree.
Yeah, but speaking of this, the NASDAQ has just made a turn to the red side here. Oil is still popping higher here. We're at 98.20s right now on oil. 98.20s, NASDAQ falling down right now as we speak here. So again, gas prices did see their biggest jump in CPI at 67. And you know what's really freaking weird? We were talking about peptides earlier. I just got a peptide ad. So strange.
That's a little creepy.
That's weird,
Maybe.
dude. And again, I think the scariest thing is that people are like, hey, my phone's listening to me. And I've talked about this before on stream. People are like, hey, my phone's listening to me. There's a much scarier thesis about why it knows. And it's I think it's much scarier. And that thesis is that your phone's not listening to you. It's just using all your data to accurately predict what you're about to buy. Which is much creepier. Much creepier. You know?
I mean, it's definitely creepy, but I've had several occasions where I'll be, talking with somebody about, whatever the topic is, and then I'll go, sometimes I click on the Google emblem in the search bar, to look at random articles, and it'll have 2 or 3 or 4 things pertaining to what I was just talking about. So that is weird.
Yeah. Yeah, but I think the thesis is that, like, all of it is just accurately predicting. I don't know. I don't freaking know. Chat, what do you guys think? Oil popped over the previous closing price. It's back at, oil is exactly flat on the day. So the previous closing price is here. This blue line right here is the previous close. And look, we'll see if it holds. The NASDAQ is still flushing down here. It's at 25,300s. But in terms of like red to green on the NASDAQ on the day, let me pull this up so we can actually look at this. Yeah, the previous closing price, we're still green on the NASDAQ. So the NASDAQ still technically green on the day. The ES still technically green on the day. The Dow still technically green on the day. Or the Dow has actually been a little red all morning. But oil is moving a little bit back and forth here. I do think the next big market moving thing is going to be whether talks are looking optimistic in the Middle East for now. Which, who knows? It's a big if. Catch you back in the chat. Hey, Hamazad. Are we going to get rate hikes? I don't think on this report necessarily. This is like a rate hike pushing report. And like people might frame it as that because they want to get you to click on their stuff. But the reality of it is the report showed up as expected or lower than expected, depending on if you're looking at core. Core showed up a little bit lower than expected actually for inflation. Headline showed up as expected, depending on which expectation you read, flat or lower than expected as well. So I would say it's an optimistic report versus expected numbers, but obviously if you look at the previous numbers for headline inflation, we are jumping up by a big margin here. So while it's somewhat good, it's not great, and it's still scary in inflation terms. The April 28th, we'll see a rate hike of 50 basis points. Nah, bro, we're not seeing that, dude. We're just not seeing that. You know, you genuinely think we're going to raise rates in 2 weeks? 2.5 weeks? You think we're going to raise 50 basis points in 2 weeks? Of course not. Even if we did a rate hike, which we're not going to get, it's not going to be a 50 basis point hike. That's silly. No offense to you, but you're wrong, dude. We're not getting a 50 basis point rate hike. You know, like, we just got the CPI report for March, right? Maybe prior to the CPI report, you could argue, hey, CPI is going to show up shockingly high. And, you know, because of that, we're going to get a rate hike this month. But with CPI flat or better than expected, and not really any major inflation reports except for after the next Fed meeting. PCE shows up, I think, the day after the next Fed meeting on the 30th, if I remember correctly, or the 31st, for the March PCE, which is actually the Fed's preferred inflation metric. The point I'm trying to make is we don't really have any data to push us to rate hike odds up until then, and it's just not going to freaking happen. The only other situation in which a rate hike would be warranted would be a situation in which, like, a situation in which, like, it escalates much worse in the Middle East, and so that makes long-term inflation worse. And even then, I think markets are just going to wait. I don't. The point is, we're not raising rates this month, dude. Super low odds, just not happening. Remember this day, big deals. I expect, honestly, what to happen here is I expect us to pause in 2.5 weeks, and I expect to not see you again because, you know, you're being so polarized about us getting rate hikes in 2.5 weeks. Again, it's not happening. It's not happening. Let's ask the chat. Do we get rate hikes in 2.5 weeks, guys? Do we get rate hikes? We don't. Britt, what do you think? You think we get rate hikes in 2.5 weeks?
No.
No. We don't. It's just not happening. You know?
Yeah, I agree.
Because, and this is why, right? The only way we can really change the current odds dramatically here, again, as of now, let's look at them. Let's look at the Fed watch tool. As of now, markets price in a 1.6% chance of a 25 basis point rate hike. Not a 50 like you're predicting. A 25 basis point hike has a 1.6% chance. A 50 basis point hike is not even in the odds right now. Like basically, markets are pricing in a 0% chance we get a 50 basis point hike. Now, nothing's ever exactly at zero. There's a chance. But then you have to take once you see these odds, you have to kind of pivot to, okay, well, what could move these odds in a different direction? And the main one is going to be inflation data. Inflation data or labor data, like jobs data. We don't really have any big pay. We've already got the NFP report. We've already had February PCE data. The March PCE data is not coming out until after the Fed meeting. And so what would really move the odds that substantially to justify a 50 basis point rate hike? And there's not really anything except for like a deep escalation in Iran. And even that almost certainly is still not going to move the odds that much. So basically you're wrong. But that's okay because we're all wrong sometimes. And it's all love, dude. I appreciate you being here, but you're wrong. You know? So you're saying there's a chance. Nothing's ever 0%. Listen, nothing's ever 0%. But there's a chance. It's just a really, 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 really low chance. But there's a chance.
Well, anything can happen because anything happens all the time.
That's right. You know. Britt knows. No rate cut chance. Nah. There's no rate cut chance either. After Warsh, maybe a little bit higher. But basically, they're just going to leave it alone. They're not gonna mess with rates right now. Honestly, there's only about a 35% chance that we get any rate cuts this year. So that's not even the majority likelihood. If we're looking at if we will get even a rate hike this year at all, like a rate hike. So this is where we're currently at right now. We're at 3.5 to 3.75% right here. There's only a 1.1% chance we get a rate hike at all this year. And that would be, again, a 25 basis point hike. This is a 25 hike. But again, I'm not saying that's impossible. I think betting that we're going to get a hike sometime this year, I'm not going to say it's reasonable. It's just, it's possible. It's much more possible and it's much more probable that we get a rate hike versus by the end of the year versus we get a rate hike this month. This month is too early. It's just too early. Hassett says Hormuz could be open within 2 months. Yeah. Hassett is generally, what's the word? Hassett is generally pretty dovish. And so I wouldn't celebrate just because Hassett necessarily says that. I don't think it's set in stone just because Hassett says that. Hassett is going to say things that are optimistic almost always. Unless he wants rate cuts, right? Which he does. Hassett's going to push rate cuts, say optimistic things for rate cuts. And if you want rate cuts, what do you need? You need inflation under control. And what means inflation is under control? The Strait of Hormuz is open. Means inflation is under control. So I'm not shocked by Hassett's comments, and I don't know if they're necessarily going to be market moving either. Again, he said the outlook for the Fed having room to cut rates is going to be very solid. Yeah, I didn't even need to look at Hassett's comments to see what he's going to say here, to know what he's basically know what his story is here. Listen, guys, we can cut rates. Inflation's under control. That's a story. I'm just now looking at his comment where he said the outlook for the Fed having room to cut rates is going to be very solid. Hormuz can be open within 2 months. We have a backup plan. We expect a rapid reduction in energy prices once the strait opens. Yeah. 10% pace of boats going through Hormuz versus normal. Yeah. Not a shock. I mean, maybe it boosts. Oil's actually going up a little bit, though. NASDAQ is a little bit more quiet here. Here's the NQ. So NASDAQ at 25,300. Market opens up in 3 minutes here, though, chat. So 3 minutes until the opening bell. Hassett is the U.S. Treasury Secretary. It's a chance for ants. All right, guys. Looking at our poll options, we have 54% saying bullish today, 46% bearish. And so 54% bullish on the day, 46% bearish on the day, guys. But again, we did have CPI data come out. And yeah, we got the opening bell here. We are going to day trade. We've had a pretty good time day trading, to be honest. We've had a pretty good time day trading the last month and a half, really. We'll see if that good time continues today. Are you guys red or green this week? What do you guys think? Red or green on the week, guys? Let me know. I'm green, I think, on this week here. Let's take a look. And what are you guys trading today? You guys trading the NASDAQ? You trading the S&P? Trading the Dow. What are you guys trading? Red on the month, green, big green, 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 red. Yeah, Bitcoin is doing all right. Bitcoin at 72.25s right now for Bitcoin, so it's up, but hasn't moved much since CPI. Remember, there's a gap that needs to be taken care of. I'm green in crypto. Gold, option premiums have always been green. Trading, I thought this was the bingo channel. This is the bingo channel. A6. A6. You know, you win, guys. What you win is a trading stream given to you by John at Beginner Trading. Amazon up to 235s right now, so Amazon just popped up a little bit. Let's see if there's news. Congratulations, guys. Congratulations. You know. You win, me gracing you with my presence today. A? Is that not a letter? Oh, yeah, there's no A in big. You're right, Jeremy. I'm dumb, dude. You're right. Microsoft coming back down here. Or maybe
Honestly,
that was
it
the
just depends
joke.
on how you pronounce it.
Yeah, I'm just going to go with that. I knew that the whole time. I meant to do that. All right?
Well, no, we're talking about bango, not bingo. I mean,
Yeah,
they're
that's
thinking
right.
of a completely different game.
Right. I knew this the whole time, guys. I knew it the whole time. Yeah. Amazon's popping up. Microsoft's dipping down. It's got to be some type of stock-related news. We're at 235s on Amazon right now. Look at Amazon run here. I was just testing you guys. That's right. You guys know. Y'all know. Listen, it's hard to be this great. It's hard to be this great. All right, so look. Press TV, citing a senior security source, suggests U.S.-Iran negotiations will be terminated if Israel strikes Beirut again. So, looking a little bit trickier here in markets, to be honest, right now. A little bit sketchier. I do see Amazon jumping and Microsoft giving it back. Maybe the software slump's just continuing here. Here's Microsoft. We have less than a minute until the opening bell, guys. We have 30 seconds here. 30 seconds. Here we go. Looking at our poll ahead of the opening bell. 54% say bullish. 46% say bearish ahead of the opening bell. Let's see what we get. We are going to trade live. Here's the opening bell. Hit the live button next to the play button. Put it in 2x speed, guys. Microsoft is breaking down here, though. And here's the opening bell. There's the open. We're watching oil prices here. We're going to watch the NASDAQ. Here's the NQ right here. NQ is up to 25,320s right now. 25,320s. NASDAQ so far is green a little bit since the opening bell, but not a lot. Slightly green since the opening bell, but again, this is not a crazy big move on the upside here. Microsoft's falling down. It's at 372s right now, 372s. And yeah, markets are being volatile here. Amazon just popped up to 237s. Coreweave is up, had a pretty good day. Microsoft's still fading at the opening bell, though. Oil's not really moving. Here's gold. Here's silver. Gold's coming down. Silver's coming down a little bit. Here's Microsoft. Microsoft had a big turnaround at the opening bell, and some of this big opening bell candle has retraced some. Remember, Michael Burry hated on Palantir, and now Palantir is down to 127s right now. NASDAQ's still fighting higher, though, so NASDAQ has had a green opening bell so far. We'll look for a potential retracement as well as like an opening range breakout potential here in markets, but NASDAQ is up 350s now in the NQ. Markets are jumping up. Maybe some optimism about U.S.-Iran talks, but all right, so Iran forced Israel to halt attacks on Beirut by threatening to withdraw from talks with the United States, according to Press TV citing the source. So maybe that means Israel's not going to escalate anymore. And if that's true, then that's very good. And maybe markets are digesting that. So because of this news catalyst I just got, I might be bullish and biased on the day. Again, we do have some data releasing at 10 a.m. today, guys. So we do have some data releasing, specifically Michigan consumer sentiment data going live at 10 o'clock today. We are going to trade live today as well. I'm just kind of waiting for that first 5-minute period to pass first after the open. But Amazon and other tech are rebounding here. Here's Microsoft. Microsoft climbed all the way back higher, filled the whole gap. Now it's back higher here. So let's see what we get today, guys. But we will trade. I will look for a dip here if we can get one. Let's see. We're down to 340s. Should I buy this, guys? I'm kind of curious about buying this. What do you guys think? Should I buy this? We just took a withdrawal. It was a small withdrawal, but it's a 25 account, so it doesn't matter too much. But I just wanted to get multiple of what I paid out for it. Do what you feel. Yeah, I'm definitely not listening to the chat now. I don't even know why I'm asking you guys. Well, Michael Burry came out regarding Palantir saying that Anthropic was basically eating their lunch, so to speak. And so because of that, Palantir went down some. He eventually deleted the tweet, though. He's kind of known to delete tweets after he posts them. The president's speaking right now. Did he really say that? I know he said some stuff earlier. He's been tweeting a lot. Yeah, president just tweeted 1 minute ago, quote, "World's most powerful reset," end quote. U.S. president. A little vague, but
someone said Elon tweeted big too. I don't know if that's true, but
yeah. So here's the most recent tweet in markets right now. Again, world's most powerful reset, President DJT. NASDAQ is very bullish, though. Look at this run. Hard to get an opening range here. Momentum in the bull side is just, they're in control. Trade with your feelings. Is there any other way to trade? You know, I'm going to hear feelings trader. A bunch of counts. Ooh, feelings trader. All right. So we might buy, I was going to buy 350s, but it's a little bit too small of a pullback, I think, here. I'm too worried about a bigger, larger correction back down. And we're also too close to the opening bell, although we can trade right now. I'm going to buy this right here. Small. We'll add to it if we go into the green. What a red candle turn, though. I believe in this. I'm going to get out of one candle here at least and just take it really small on the day. That's a large pullback. And the more we pull back, the less I like it. Still pretty flat on the day, though. It's basically nothing, but still. We got to build up a cushion first, and hopefully we can do that today. There we go. We got a little bit of bullishness showing up. I believe it can fly, guys. I believe it can touch the sky. Some of you guys are too young to understand that reference.
I think about it every night and day.
That's right. Just take my trades and it flies away. All right, I'm going to cut it right here. Guys, it's flying to the downside. I don't appreciate it. What a complete turnaround, though. I'm trying to make sure markets aren't... no news came out. Let me see. All the president said was the world's most powerful reset. Market dumps on this news. He said the world's most powerful reset. Market craters down. I blame him. You know. Or too old. Yeah. Everybody should like Space Jam.
Not the new one though. I'm definitely a fan of the MJ one.
Yeah, Michael Jordan all day, you know. But that's our generation, you know. I like LeBron.
Yeah.
LeBron's good. You can't say LeBron isn't good. I mean, Michael was more consistent, you know, in terms of championships. But LeBron, one of the greats for sure.
Yeah, I mean he three-peated twice.
Yeah.
I'm not saying LeBron isn't great. I mean, I know he's great. I just like MJ better. I thought he was a more dynamic player, just personally.
Right. Well, we grew up with Space Jam, so naturally, you know, we're gonna like Jordan more.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm not agreeing with you there, Big Slum. Although I did have that album growing up. Yeah, I did have that album growing up. Everybody did. I wish. It's a moment in time. All right, NASDAQ is pulling back here. All right, so we're up to 330s. Yeah, we got to the higher volume area. Maybe I should have just waited for us to pull back to this high volume area first. Big whips here, though, in markets, guys. Big whips. Yeah, if we start climbing back up there, I will buy it. But you could also argue we're in some type of range. Let's remember this day. I'll get back to you April 29th, and we can discuss the 50 basis point rate hike. Okay.
Seems a little angry, maybe.
No, he's just wrong. It's all right. We could agree to disagree. All right. I mean, you're wrong. Most of the chat thinks you're wrong too, and I mean, you know, that's okay. It's okay to be wrong, guys. Trust me, I know. But this dude's definitely wrong.
I just like that we can agree to disagree, and it's like, but you're totally wrong.
Yeah, you are. He is, dude. 50 basis point hike in 2 weeks, bro. We don't even have any inflation data to push the odds in the other way. It's just not happening. It's not happening. I might buy this dip again, though. If we get a good dip. All right, we got one contract here. I'm going to add one more here and leave it at that. If we get to push the other way. We did get funded in that Apex account yesterday. Maybe I'll just trade with that one if this one doesn't go well. I'm not going to eat any, like, too big of losses on the day on this account. I took a payout on this account. This is my baby right here. Can't let anything happen to her. Okay, now we're getting out. All right, I'm just probably going to switch accounts now. I'm just not really feeling this one. So. Just not really feeling it. It's an end of day drawdown option. NASDAQ coming back down. A little choppy anyway. Look at the reversal here. You guys bull or bear?
Definitely one or the other.
Yeah, it's definitely going to go to the right. You know?
Yeah.
Yeah. I gotta pull Alright, so we're gonna trade our other funded account today. Like I said, I'm pulling that up right now. Waiting for it here. Where's it at, dude? I request immediate access to it right now. I just activated it. It might take 5 minutes or so. Anyways, NASDAQ's coming down. We're at 25,300s here. Here's the 200 exponential right around 3. So maybe we're going to bounce right here. Oil, let's take a look at it. I'm assuming oil is heading up right now. Yeah, oil is now green on the day. It's technically up on the day after the inflation data release. And we did bounce at the 200 exponential. Amazon's ripping up right now, though. So, you know, we're moving up a little bit. Higher inflation. Yeah, but everybody expected us to have higher inflation today. It's all in context of what the expected numbers were. And we were lower as expected on that front. Okay, here it is. Our Apex account is here, guys. We have our Apex account. Again, the goal of this one is to do what we did with that Lucid account, which is we are going to trade very, very small, build up a cushion, and then take larger risks once we have the cushion, since it's an end-of-day drawdown option now. So with the end-of-day drawdown, they calculated by the previous day, and it doesn't follow you up intraday, right? That means that we can add to winners, take small size with losing trades, and have small losses, big wins if we trade it right and have the discipline to stick to it. That's the goal here. And again, if you want to check out Apex, their 90% soft sale was repeated today. So it's still going on. For Apex's 90% off sale. Here it is, guys. Check it out. Great way to help support the channel here. Here's the link. We can pin that to the top of the chat. If you haven't already, here's the link. Apex cheapest accounts in the game. The base one is like, what, like $19 if you use my link? I think the best one is the 50K option. They're an affiliate of mine. I'm biased. But they have end-of-day drawdowns, no payout denials, no MAE rule, 5-1 risk-reward rule is no more. Built-in scaling, 50% consistency once you're funded here. But again, cheapest accounts in the game, 1990 here. 1990. You can see the link pinned to the top of the chat. Great way to help support the channel. I like the 50K end-of-day, which is like 35 bucks personally. But I'm going to buy this now here. Maybe it's a little greedy, but it's just one contract. And we'll add to it if it goes deeper in my favor, back to the top of the range. Kind of a whippy news-driven market, though. Well, I use Lucid a lot, too. I think they're both good for, you know. Lucid processed my payout in literally 1 minute. USAR, yeah, so remember guys, my friend Britt is the one that wanted to buy USAR before it ran up big, and I told him I didn't know. And then it ended up going up to like 31 or 32. And then it came right back down, but still went up a lot afterwards. Oh man, I'm looking at this, it turned the other way. This is very whippy price action here, guys. I'm gonna give this one more second and then cut it if it doesn't go in my favor. And then we're just gonna trade a range breakout like an orb or something like that. I'm gonna cut it right here. Too risky. So pretty much flat still on this one, but now we're going to pivot to a range base. We tried momentum. Here's the opening range. Let me pull this up. The opening range. Dude, where'd it go? There it is. Opening range is about right here. So we have a very large opening range, to be honest, but we're going to wait and see if this range can break a little bit here. Give it some time. Yeah, Bitcoin is down to 72,000. I wouldn't say that's failing. I think it's a little premature. Here's Bitcoin, 72K. It's basically where it was. It's down a couple $100 bucks. All right, looking at our poll options, 53% are still bullish for the open, 47% are bearish. We are now 14 minutes into the day here. So let's see what we get, but we are now 14 minutes into the day. Nasdaq is at 25,300s now. We're starting to test the bottom range of this opening. So see if bears can get control. I do think it is Friday, guys, so you just got to be a little bit more careful in regards to like what's going on. You know, just got to be a little bit more careful here in terms of what's going on. Still that big opening range, but sideways here. This is the high volume area of the volume profile also. Get ready for more dump. Someday you can ask politely if I want to join the team. I mean, I think I'm good, man. If you're getting a rate, if you think we're getting a rate hike, I think that's a wild prediction. You know. And again, dude, I will eat my words. If you're right, I will make fun of myself completely. I think you're wrong. The chat thinks you're wrong. Britt thinks you're wrong. Jerome Powell probably thinks you're wrong. But, you know. Yeah, if you started at 25, even though I think that's not going to happen, then I might give you a little bit more credit. We're not going to just... look, Jerome Powell and the Federal Reserve FOMC committee, they're pretty balanced. They're not going to just shock the market with a 50 basis point rate hike out the blue. Like, they're just not going to do that. Like, you got to understand, their job is to maintain balance. They're trying not to cause whipsaw action and crazy swings. And so they're going to... It's going to be very difficult for them to just say, hey, guys, I'm like, why don't we raise rates? Not 25, but 50. That's a silly thing.
But if we are wrong, I have no problem admitting it. I think that's one of the most important things you can do is... develop the ability to admit when you're wrong.
Sure, 100%.
Ego shouldn't, you should try to control your ego. That's my point.
Right. Oh,
Not you.
sure.
I'm just talking about humanity in general.
No, 100%. I agree. Yeah, 100%.
But again, I don't think we're wrong.
Yeah, me neither. It's all about to break. All right, guys. So yeah. Oh, I forgot. We do have data today. I completely forgot. We have Michigan consumer sentiment data today. So we have consumer sentiment. Yeah. 10 a.m. 10 a.m. So in 13 minutes, I don't know how much this is going to move markets either, but maybe we're going to watch to see if consumer sentiment is falling a little bit. Based off of just everything going on. We'll see. But NASDAQ still in this really tight, easy to see range though. Yeah, we're kind of in a sideways range. Are we trading right now? We're trying to, but I haven't had the best results. We're down a little bit. Bitcoin just made a pretty big jump back higher here, though. Look at Bitcoin. But right now the range is too sideways here. Unless I'm going to short the bottom of the range, and in my luck, we'd probably just dump down if I did, or buy the bottom of the range or short the top. Here's the opening range. We're just waiting for this range to break here. But even still, you got a higher volume area right here as well on the volume profile. So even if we do break this range, it's not a certainty given price swings right now. Like, look at all the volume down here, dude. So it's not really an easy... Like, I might short some of this level here if we get under the 200 EMA, but this whole area is pretty high volume right now if you look at this. So there's some risks of trying to attack a really obvious continuation today.
You think there's anything to account for the swings, or is it just the market fighting amongst itself?
Well, I think it's CPI day, news-driven market. Ranges are a little bit larger. Now that CPI's out, markets are just moving a little bit, and I think because of that, we have a wider consolidation of volume.
Okay.
Look at the turn in markets here. I'm trying to see if there's any news related to this. Like, I see this news that just came out, but I don't know how to read any of this. I'm gonna have to translate this. Something just happened. I'm getting AI to translate it now because whoever reshared this did not translate it for me. All right, so Israel says no to French involvement in direct talks with Lebanon. Israel has refused to allow France to take part in direct talks between itself and Lebanon, which will begin next week in Washington, according to 2 sources speaking. A source told News that France's entire conduct over the past year, including initiatives aimed at preventing Israel from being able to fight in Lebanon and zero French willingness to do anything concrete to help, has led France to be seen by Israel as not a fair mediator. It is looking a little bit better for talks, though. The Nasdaq's coming down here. So, the Nasdaq's coming down. Gold and silver are kind of flat on the day. They're not really moving that much as you might think here. Silver's at 76s. And again, I'm going to trade this, guys, but I'm just waiting here. I need better movements. So... we are popping up a little bit, though. Yeah, Fridays are a little sketchier. Look at this line right here, this 302 level. I don't know if I drew that 302 level earlier or what. Oh, no. Okay. Here. It's 300s is really what this is. There's 300s right there. Definitely watching 300s. 200 exponentials right here, too. But man, what a range here, guys. This is not good trading action. Yeah, and I don't really see any other breaking news, so market's just kind of sitting tight waiting here.
Deal says Bitcoin's dumping.
The chat seems to exaggerate sometimes. I mean, and I'm kind of known to say big words like that too. But this little baby drop is not dumping, it's just normal price flow.
Okay.
Yeah, Nvidia. Chips. Nvidia almost back up to 190s here. Hey guys, does it show we're in sub-only mode? Like, can non-subscribers, anybody chatting that's not a subscriber, let me know. I think the market is digesting the inflation print, to be honest. Well, that's possible. I mean, the market's still in the range of the inflation print. Here's the inflation print right here on the NASDAQ, and we're still in that range. Maybe if we break the high and low of the inflation print. Yeah, put the sub-only mode out for everybody. I'm trying to make it so that anybody can subscribe, but honestly, YouTube settings are kind of weird. It is in sub-only mode? Okay.
Have they changed up their interface or something recently?
I don't know. It's just kind of strange. Like, even if you try to set it to no sub-only mode, it'll automatically revert back to it. All right, so U.S. negotiators are asking Iran to release detained Americans. All right, so consumer sentiment data drops in 5 minutes here, Chad. So we do have consumer sentiment data coming out in 5. We'll see. We'll give it some time. Yeah, I'm looking at NVIDIA. NVIDIA's almost up to 188s right now. Here's NVIDIA right here. So NVIDIA is moving. But yeah, U.S. negotiators are going to ask Iran to release detained Americans, according to the Washington Post. Yeah, I don't know what to do with this price action, guys. This is not super good price action today. It's just not. Yeah, no. It's not that good price action here. Silver, Dow's flushing. Yeah, I'm looking at oil here as well. I'm trying to find some good action here, but oil's got a little bit better trend than the NASDAQ here, but a lot of it's still really flat. Oil bounced right at the 200 EMA too. Here's the 200 exponential right here, this yellow line. You can see how much like both the NASDAQ and oil follow it. Again, here's the NASDAQ 200 exponential, 200 exponential, 200 exponential. Here's oil 200 exponential. So waiting for some type of, I don't want to just range trade this. We have consumer sentiment data in about 3.5 minutes as well. So we got something coming out right now that could move things. I don't know if it will, but it could. But still, yeah.
Silver doing.
Silver and gold both have, they're moving up a little bit, but even them, they're not the most volatile right now. Here's the last hour or so of price action. Down, up, down, up. So here's oil.
Okay.
You get oil at 98s right now. We will trade this. Again, consumer sentiment data does drop in 3 minutes. It's Michigan consumer sentiment. We also have factory orders that come out on the same period of time. So we do have factory orders coming out. We do have consumer sentiment coming out. So
I'll step away for a second.
yeah, inflation data did show up earlier. CPI inflation did show up. So all right, guys, here we go. Here we go. Minutes. I don't know how much this is going to influence things. I really don't. I don't know how much this is going to really push things or not. We'll see. We're at 25,320s oil. We're going to watch oil in the NASDAQ. Maybe we'll break out of this range. We have Michigan consumer sentiment. Michigan consumer sentiment is not widely known to be the most accurate report, though. Like, it's not the most widely watched report. But it's something. And if it comes in really bad, maybe it'll move. If not, we'll see. Again, it shows up in about 2 minutes. About a minute, actually.
What's considered the most accurate, or one of the most accurate?
Huh?
So what's considered the most accurate report, or at least just one of the most?
I mean, I think there's probably arguments about none of them being accurate or all of them being accurate. It's definitely not Michigan data.
Okay.
Now, this is by the University of Michigan. That's why I call it Michigan data. It's not for the state of Michigan. It's for... Yeah, no, it's a little bit. It's much more encompassing, but it's compiled by the University of Michigan. What you want to pay attention to is the consumer sentiment. It's expected at 51.6 for April. It came in at 53.3 for March. Inflation expectations 1 and 5 year for April. Last time they showed up at 3.8% 1 year, 3.2% for 5 year. So we can pay attention to these as well. But it's about to drop in 25 seconds left. The NASDAQ's actually starting to come down a little bit, though, ahead of this report. I don't know if this report's going to move things. We'll see. But we're going to cover it nonetheless. The big story of the day is really the increase to prices we've seen from the CPI report. But here we go. Here's the data releasing 10 seconds, 9 seconds, 8 seconds, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And here's the report. Okay, so 47.6, much weaker consumer sentiment. 47.6, 4.8 1-year inflation expectations by the University of Michigan, and 3.4%. Factory orders also showed up at more positive than expected, though. So at 0% versus negative 0.3% expected. But again, much weaker than expected consumer sentiment at 47.6. Markets did initially react negatively to this report. You can kind of see the red candle show up at the 10 a.m. time frame. But again, this did show up at 47.6, weaker than expected here, and greater inflation worries than expected. And again, you can kind of see the market is responding to this a little bit at the very least here. So you can see the market responding to this at the very least. Again, University of Michigan, 47.6, higher inflation expectations as well. And the NASDAQ does have this big red candle showing up in markets here. Interesting. nonetheless. So you can kind of see the data here. This is the consumer sentiment report right here. It showed up at 47.8. Here's the 200 EMA though. But we'll see if this report continues to drag markets down. Look at the NASDAQ. Doesn't like this report at all. So the NASDAQ does not like this report so far. But again, sometimes the first move is the wrong move. But look at the red action here. Here's the VWAP 286. So the NASDAQ is falling down on this report. Look at this. So much more interesting market reaction to the Michigan data here. I mean, it's going to show higher inflation expectations. Factory orders did show up at 0%. Again, consumer sentiment is a record low. It came in at 47.6 versus expected 51.5. It showed up at 40s. It is the record low for the University of Michigan consumer sentiment data. And look at the NASDAQ fall here. NASDAQ is falling down now on this report. So, yeah, it doesn't look good. Doesn't look good. And again, interestingly enough, this data did affect markets, surprisingly enough. 10 o'clock, dragging this market down right now. Again, sometimes first move is the wrong move, and maybe we bounce at the VWAP. We'll see. Yeah, look at this drop. Now look at this pop. So maybe we're going to reverse here. I don't know how consumer sentiment going on record lows is positive, but listen, you know, sometimes markets are irrational, and they can stay irrational longer than you can stay solvent. I don't know who said that quote. It was somebody. Definitely wasn't me. All right, guys. If we retrace back down, I will short. We're out of the opening range. I don't like it enough yet. I got to give it a second, but I will short it here. Give me, you know. Give me the drop. Come on. Give me the drop. I believe we could fall here. Don't copy me. I'm not an investment professional. There we go. There's a drop. Don't you reverse. Don't you do it. Come on, man. I want some good trading action today, and so far we just had choppiness. Honestly, the volume profile kind of showing this choppiness, though. Great quote, what a philosopher you are. I think that's my nickname. You know, John the Philosopher.
It's pronounced philosophizer, I believe.
That's right. Yeah, you're right. That's true. The problem with this trade, if you want me to be completely honest, is I think I'm actually shorting the VWAP here, which I don't know if it's a good move. 200 exponentials above us though, but it's small. Again, I'm gonna get in small. We'll add to it if it goes in my favor. I'm hoping that opening range breaks and we start breaking down here. I think Michigan consumer sentiment was bad. I mean, most people expected it to be bad, but they didn't expect it to be anywhere where it was. And so I'm hoping we continue to break down. But again, on the volume profile, we're kind of in a high volume area here. So I don't trust it a lot, but we'll see. There we go, that's better. We're not really staying down is the question. And again, we're running into that high volume area of the volume profile. Look at this right here. So I'll give it a second, but I don't love it. I'm going to take half of this off actually just to limit my risk here. I'm not going to risk too much. Yeah, I mean, at the 300 level is what I'm hoping we hold under. I'll let it test a little bit above that, but not much. And so I'm hoping that 300 level pushes it back down, is what I'm hoping. And so far it has. But it's a whippy day. It's kind of a whipsaw day in price action, to be honest. We're just kind of going up and down and up and down and up and down. So maybe range day would have been better to attack. That's better. We'll add back size if we go in my favor here. but we've been mostly flat on this one. See if it falls. There we go. It's just not an easy day to make money. I think it's very choppy. It's Friday.
Well, I believe in you all the same.
I know. Listen, you should, bro. You should. You know, I'm the shining hope of the market, guys. That's what I am. You know, I'm the generational trader of my generation. I think I heard somebody say that.
Generational trader of my generation.
I heard somebody say that probably one time. You know, somewhere. Somebody probably said that. I think. All right, guys, we're breaking down here. Let's see if we can hold this. Yeah, the buff daddy of the NASDAQ. Somebody probably said that too, I think. Somewhere. One day. Alright, we're in this trade, guys. We're in this trade, and we're riding it down. There we go. There's a nice little drop. See? There we go. I'm going to take half off here. Then maybe add back on a bounce. That's what we're going to do. Here's a bounce. We'll add back here. We're green on this trade so far, but we're still slightly red. I'm not going to add any more to this. I'll just wait, see if it breaks down. Again, the problem with the volume profile today is like, honestly, we have kind of a high volume area all up in here. And so the problem is like, we could chop everywhere today. And that's kind of what we're doing here. We're not really doing anything easy. Now I'm about flat on this trade. I still have my risk level here, but it's all pretty small. I'm gonna wait.
Yeah, it seems this has been a very unpredictable day. Kind of hard to read, huh?
Yeah, it's a see profit, take profit kind of day. Yeah, I probably should have taken profit, but again, we're kind of flat on this trade, honestly, at this point in time. We added to it when it broke down, so I gave myself a little chance to make more, but now we're kind of, we're green on the trade now, but I might reduce my size pretty quickly if we start to head back up. Just not an easy day to make money. Yeah, we're out one of them. I'm out. That's just too big of a bounce. Maybe it holds, but you know, I don't know if this is necessarily easy money today, guys. I'll jump back into it if I see something good. But for now, we're just kind of chopping. Yeah, I might jump back in now. Alright, so we jumped back in this. We might just start scalping this move here, to be honest. There we go. There we go. Alright, I'm gonna take half off there. I just don't trust this at all. We're basically flat. And I'll give this last one a little bit more time.
Has the market behaved even kind of like you thought it would, or did you not really go into this with any supposition?
It's Friday, so Fridays generally are a little bit choppier. As well as it's CPI day. Now, sometimes CPI will cause enough volatility to justify some trend and momentum-based trades, but it looks like today's a little different. We kind of showed up flat for CPI data, so like stuff that would normally move markets, you know, we have less pull, I think, from it.
Yeah.
All right, so here we go. We are starting to look a little red here, but I don't trust it at all now. We got a little bit of room right here down to like here, maybe 50s. We retrace back up. I'll add a little bit to this. There we go. Take half off right there. Give it a little bit more time. Maybe add back some at 85s. I'm trying to play this downward breakdown. The short idea was right. It just took a little bit too long, and we kind of chopped a lot leading into it, but it's all right. Every day's not green. If you expect it to, you usually end up losing your whole account as well. I don't like that price action. I'm cutting it right there. So we actually made money on that trade. Not a lot, but we made some. All right, so we are rebounding a little bit higher here. We're at 290s right now, 290s. Looks like I got out just in time again. You know?
I knew you could do it.
I know. Listen, man, that's just, you know, when you're just this good, you know, the generational trader of your generation. I mean, I think stuff like this happens.
Talent just can't be hidden, you know.
That's right. These are just skills I've developed in life, man. You know. We're starting to bounce back higher. I might actually short it. The problem is, I wonder if we're gonna reject 300 again. It's a pretty big pump here, though. Let me look this up. I see the U.S. is likely going to approve an extension of the waiver allowing sales of Russian crude oil as early as Friday, which is today. But outside of that, nothing. So, didn't look like it's news-driven. Although that's a big rebound back up here. Looks like I got out just in time. Something's going on with the NASDAQ here. Let's take a look at oil. Oil's falling. NASDAQ's rising so far right now. Here's the NASDAQ on the right side. Look at it jump here. So, look at the NASDAQ head up.
When did that news about Russian oil drop?
A couple minutes ago. Like 1 or 2 minutes ago.
Okay.
That could be it.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know.
Timeline lines up.
Yeah, it does. I guess maybe they're doing that to try to increase the volume in the market that's being cut because of the deal with Iran. I don't know.
Yeah. Oil fell when that news. NASDAQ rised. So. Still in this range though, man. Oil being down is generally good though.
I tend to agree. Definitely better for your pocketbook.
Yeah.
Day to day.
Yeah, but there's a big rise here. Could be this news. I mean, that's the only thing I can really see. Again, it's got to be that news right here. This news story right here. Maybe I'll buy a dip, but again, I think the if you look at the volume profile today, I think this is the real story here, is that we just have a really high volume area that is pretty spread out today. So hard to really get a big trend in this stuff. We get a pull back to like here, maybe I'll buy it at the 200 EMA. That's what I'm looking for now, is maybe a pullback to the 200 exponential moving average. No, I'm not shorting this right now. I mean, it's at the volume profile. I don't think it's bad, but I'm just gonna wait here. Yeah, I need to wait a little bit. So I was thinking about buying a dip. I'd rather 300, so we might not get it. So. I'm cheered up. Nothing's wrong. I'm just waiting. I gotta wait for some market movement here, and it's just been kind of slow. You know, it's been hard to attack. I'll look for 300s, maybe 310s, but I think I have to be strict with it. I don't think I should just kind of blindly jump in here. To be honest, I just don't think I should. You know, I think I should wait. Yeah, you can join our Discord. It's completely free. It doesn't cost anything. So completely free. Join our Discord. Again, it doesn't cost anything here. I could do a giveaway as well. Should I do a giveaway today of a Lucid account? I think I shall. All right, we're gonna have Nightbot do it.
Couldn't hurt.
Those that stuck around here, we got 650 people here. Those that stuck around, you can be part of the giveaway. Coupon code is BGT. So let me get the giveaway set up here. Hold on one second. So if you type in exclamation point BGT, which is my coupon code for most major prop firms, you can participate in the giveaway. So again, if you do this, if you do that, you can participate in the giveaway. So do it now, and we'll give away one Lucid account. Market's kind of boring right now, so it's probably time to do something else.
Who are you trading with right now? I mean, what platform are you using?
I traded a mix of Apex and Lucid today. Apex still has their 90% off sale going on as well. But yeah, if you want to participate in the giveaway, do exclamation point BGT, and you can take part. All right. We are starting to head back up towards the top of the volume profile range, though. Just do it once. You don't need to do it twice. Thundercat, you're in there. Backflip, you're in there. Sage, Brian, Jason, Susie, Nick, Daily, Samuel, Jackal, Free, Apex, Ben, Thomas, Mark, Rambling, Joker, Clifford, Sid. Y'all are all in there. Chuck, you're in there. Is Bitcoin pumping right now? Yeah, Bitcoin is almost up to 73,000 here. Look at Bitcoin pop. The Bitcoin is jumping up. Yeah, I'll give everybody a little bit more time. But Again, I'm not choosing this. Nightbot randomly picks one of you guys that do that exclamation point BGT. It doesn't matter how many times you do it. It's all just one entry. OpenAI is going to be classified as a very large online search engine under the EU's Digital Service Act, according to sources. Crypto fear and greed index is at 16, so extreme fear. Again, the University of Michigan consumer sentiment data did drop to 4760 for the month of April. Again, make sure you hit the live button next to the play button. Make sure you catch up to the stream here. Yeah, I do see Bitcoin up. Nasdaq's starting to climb back higher here as well. I wanted a 300 dip, though, and we just didn't get it, unfortunately. So. Who said what about 72.5? Oh, yeah, Bitcoin's up. It's almost up to 73K. Again, chat, if you're just now joining the stream, we're doing a Lucid account giveaway. Not a funded account, but a challenge eval account. So if you want to take part, do exclamation point BGT in chat. It'll make you join. We're just about to do it here. Just about.
Some of the stuff that's come out in the last few days, you think the ceasefire will still hold short term?
Short term, yes. I think there's reasons to be somewhat optimistic in it holding.
Yeah, I think so too.
Yeah, I think it's gonna hold most likely. The reason I think it's gonna hold is just because I think we see more optimism in Israel, Lebanon stuff, as well as, you know, we're meeting with them today and tomorrow and probably the next day. And so maybe not today. I think we're meeting with them tomorrow, or, you know, but I do think there's more optimism to be had there. So maybe you could argue a long setup.
Yeah, I would tend to agree on that. I think that because of prolonged conflicts over the past couple decades, there's just less of a taste for it, or less tolerance for it.
Sure.
At this point, and so I think public opinion, has a great impact on how long these kinds of things last.
Sure, and I think there's distrust all around. You know what I mean? So, like, I think people are already naturally distrusting of stuff going on, and that's okay,
Yeah.
So. Yeah, I think people just don't trust anything, at this point right now. I get it. I don't freaking trust anything either, dude.
Well, it's hard to, everything's becoming tougher and tougher to verify, and the news market is always, at least in my opinion, oversaturated.
Sure, that's right. All right, guys, we're gonna give the last couple minutes here. Hit exclamation point BGT if you want to take part in this competition. You could win a free eval account on Lucid. Lucid's great. If you take a look at Lucid here, again, Lucid has a lot of great options. They've paid over 60 million to traders. 50,000 traders use Lucid. Average payout time is 15 minutes. Mine was in 1 minute the other day. I took a payout from them. 1 minute time frame. Again, 90-10 split, no payout windows, clear and simple rules, 10-to-1 micro scaling, end of day drawdowns, no hard breach rules, and more. They also have a direct to funded option here where you can get funded for $238 directly, which is pretty cheap compared to a lot of the other places. So check out Lucid here. They are an affiliate of mine. I am biased. But yeah, the giveaway is about to start now. So let's see what we get. Again, if you do win this giveaway, everybody join our Discord as well. If you have not joined our Discord, if you win, you're gonna have to join the Discord anyway. So join the Discord. There's the link in chat right there. I'm not saying if you win, you have if you're not in the Discord, you don't win. I'll pick the next winner. I'm not saying that.
But we would appreciate the love.
Yeah, for sure. All right, guys. Yeah, so we're gonna be giving away a Lucid Pro 25,000 eval. Lucid Pro 25K eval. So join the Discord, guys. Are you guys ready? Or should I wait?
am.
You guys ready or should I wait? Hey, see you, Teddy. Have a great day. Yes, ready? All right. All right. I desire the win. Well, you know, the more you desire it, how to win, you hit exclamation point BGT, and you know, they randomly pick one. Whoever did it, you know. So that's how you win. Give me justice. Yeah, we had some controversy last time. All right, we're gonna go ahead and do it now. We got a bunch of people in it. All right, so the winner of this, let's go ahead and choose a winner. All right, like we're gonna choose a winner here. Again, just to show you guys, this is not rigged. We're gonna choose a winner right here. Choose winner. AG Des whatever. Des AGDEZROR is now the winner of this competition.
Agdesroar, huh?
And he was the last one. You know? Yeah, that is you.
I don't know why that struck me funny, but it did.
Somebody said that's me. No, it didn't. No, it wasn't Conquisition. It was not you.
There's the other one with the same name.
Yeah, congrats, dude. Yeah, follow me on Discord or join Discord, bro. And I'll send
congratulations to the winner.
Yeah, I'll send you a link. It'll give you 100% off coupon code for a Lucid Pro 25K. Congratulations, sir. If you did not win the competition, which is most of you degenerates here, you can always pay for a Lucid account here, guys. You can always pay. If you want to go direct to funded, again, $238. You can get a 50K funded 364. Lucid Pro, use my coupon code. It's $100 basically at checkout. Lucid Flex 70 at checkout. Do it now, guys. Do it now. You know, use my coupon code BGT. It definitely doesn't stand for beginner trading. It stands for many other things, but not beginner trading. So congratulations to the winner of this highly important competition. The Nasdaq's still not doing much. Not doing much. Still in the high volume area, the volume profile. I know better than to trade this right now. Jonathan, listen, it was your fault that you didn't win, you know? Why are we got all these same people saying it's me? Some of you guys are joining late. Hit the like button. We should have Headless John do the giveaways. I might be able to do that actually. Hold on. I mean, the giveaway's done next week. Next week, hold on. Just to give you guys a sneak preview. You know, I think I'm gaining some weight because this thing barely fits me anymore, you know? But,
you're getting too swole is what it is.
I know. I gotta get this mic out the way. So I should do, basically I'm like the wizard in the Wizard of Oz right now, you know? Right?
Ignore the man behind the curtain.
Yeah, I think I'm getting some weight because this thing's kind of small right now. I can also swim. I don't know if you guys have ever seen me swim here, but I can. Oh no, wait. Swimming higher. I'm swimming lower. You know. You shall not pass here today, guys. I can stick myself right here by the price action, and just look at it go up. Look, the Nasdaq's rising here, guys. I swear, I turned into like a 13-year-old with this green screen, man. I really do. Eat the candle. I'll try here. Hold on. There we go. Cheers to you guys. It's Friday. I mean, I don't have nothing else to do here but sit here and horse around with you guys.
Pac-Manning it up, huh?
Yeah. I'm like Pac-Man, except cooler.
Nah, dude. Pac-Man is the man.
Look at the Nasdaq go higher here. The Nasdaq is rising. Look at this move. We might actually break out of this range.
Well, you know, I decided it was time, so I just let everybody know.
Okay, I got you, ZXC. Yeah, I got you, bro. I'll message you. I'll send you the link. Yeah. Yeah, just say something in the main. Okay, there you are. Yeah, I got you. I just sent you a message. Here's the link right here. You can use the coupon code at checkout. It'll get you 25%, or it'll get you 100% off a 25K Lucid Pro eval. It's got to be a Lucid Pro. It'll give you 100% off. Here you go, bro. Use that code at checkout. Yeah, appreciate it, Z. Hey, thank you, bro. Yeah, we are starting to get to the top of this range here. Palantir just bounced back pretty big. Coreweave still pushing. But yeah, I'm going to get out of here, guys. I'm going to get out of here. So, you guys have a great day. Again, have a great weekend. Big stuff going on this week. Remember, Apex has 90% off sale going on right now. 90%. Apex. They continued it. 90%. BGT coupon code. Same coupon code you used into the giveaway. BGT. Use it. Love it. Take Profit, same thing. Take Profit's really beginner friendly. So, you know, check out Take Profit. Tradeify 3.0 direct to funded as well. A lot of good stuff. A lot of good stuff. But with that said, I'm gonna cut out of here, guys. Y'all have a great day. I'll see you guys later.
Later, everybody. See you guys on Monday.